AskGunQuestions.com is a website that we built back in 2007, and since then, for the last 15 years, people have been able to ask questions of simple to advanced nature, and we attempt to answer them in different ways over the years. Join us now as we start a new series to answer gun questions.
And welcome everybody. So I didn't schedule nothing today. So thanks Tony for jumping in, but we'll see if anybody joins us today. We might just be talking to ourselves, but I imagine the people that listen on the regular might find us. But either way, we kind of already started because this week's been kind of crazy, right? And I didn't schedule nothing, so I figured let's just jump in. So I think I was just asking you, how's your week been? And you're telling me about how a couple of the posts have gone for you.
Yeah, the couple of posts that I posted about Charlie Kirk have blown up. I mean, for my post, for me, a lot of traction because I don't overtalk it. I just say the point and walk away, and I think that works. Brevity works. I want to do excuse me, I apologize. I want to do a live today, but I got to keep it short because I don't want to get off topic. And you and I have talked about it, the fact that both right and left are talking by each other, talking past each other. And then we're looking at the extremes of both sides and acting as if that's everyone
only
on
yeah, exactly.
that side of the political spectrum. And I'm like, come on, guys. I mean, it's not that hard. Yeah.
Maybe the way to think of it is like we're looking over the fence and the only people we see are the people waving their hands with the signs and shit because that's all we can see over the fence. But in reality, it's an ocean of people just standing there watching the people with signs on their side also, looking over the thing and seeing, it's only people with signs on the other side. There's that aspect of it, I think, we could probably chat about. And I think the part that just drives me just nuts already at this point is the repetitiveness, like the fact that they can keep yanking this chain on us. And I mean, it's understandable. We're not the Borg. I've said this many times. It's like, I don't know how to change this. I don't know how to solve this, but it's just so frustrating that they know they can. And I mean, they isn't anti-gunners. They means like the people in the positions that profit from this situation. I don't want to say like this. It's just a deteriorating situation, but it's not like I don't join the people that say it's the end of the country or anything, or the end of civil discourse or anything like that. It's just that when there's these times like this, there's people that just make the bank. They make a lot of money, and it's either political or real money, but whatever. They're definitely cashing in on this, and it's just so frustrating. Now, do you think, as I'm saying it, I'm trying to make sense of it. Do you think it's just because the people who are actually doing the talking at any given time, are the loud ones, let's say. And, I mean, it's not like we've been quiet. We're loud. Sometimes I'm not using that as a derogatory thing, but like there's the people that are actually making the noise. Do you think those people are, I'm just going to make age the thing because we know it's not age. It could be anything, but let's just say like, between the ages of 24 and 6 and 30, that's when people are politically going to go to some kind of a get together, whether it be a protest or what. And because the population of the country is moving past that window of age, right? Like it's different people going to the protests all the time. So same thing, different people reacting to the protests. Is it just that, only certain people are holding on to the microphones at any given time? If they've first experienced something, then they're susceptible to, all the things the issues that come with being the first time involved with something. And then let's say they hold that microphone for some amount of time, a couple of years, couple of decades, whatever it might be, and they get so beat down that they let go of the microphone. Somebody else comes along and picks it up. You might say, hey, here's how to work the microphone or something. But for the most part, it's the next person's job to figure it out. And now they pick it up and they're going to have to experience things, all kinds of things for the first time. And is it just the people who have the advantage of sitting there over time that just get to own that? Or is it some other factor? But I'm trying to put my head around like how come it seems like those of us that have a microphone, some of us have been around a long time, obviously have been around for a long time, but it seems like so many people with microphones are only here for so long, so kind of temporarily. That is that the thing, they're able to exploit the people that can actually make some change, make some noise because those people come and go. So I don't know if that makes sense
It's,
after
it's
such
a,
a loud explanation.
it, I understand what you're talking about because this whole podcast, hear my opinion thing has a lifespan. And usually it lasts until the money or the interest runs out. You know what I mean? Like the amount of money you're willing to spend to do this thing without making any money back or seeing the return on investment. So it
Yeah,
has a short lifespan.
it gets taken
But what
over by
I've
something else in your life or whatever. Yeah, like these all have a
Mhm.
span.
Yeah, they all have a span. But what I've seen that's different now than when, we started doing shows or listening to shows or being part of shows is that if you push a divisive agenda, if you're shocking, you get to stick around a lot longer and you can actually get paid from different platforms. All we had was YouTube back in the day with, what was it, Hangouts. You know what I mean? We had Hangouts and that was it. And you'd get sponsorships and get paid by that. But now the platforms are paying you. And then they have the GoFundMe's and the other ways. So, one, they're sticking around longer. That means they're older. And then they try to cater to the younger people that are also coming in. So it seems like there's a lot more voices. So I think it's being encouraged. The divisiveness is the argumentative, the us versus them. I think that's being encouraged more than it was. Actually, it's been financially encouraged. And that's what helps it stick around longer and get worse, I think.
Yeah, there's been people that figured out how to exploit that rift rather than in the past where, I don't think, whole industry, well, I would say industries, but, whole people's efforts weren't involved in people being upset with each other. Sometimes being upset with each other
Oh
is
yeah.
actually
And
bad for business back in the day. So
oh,
people,
and by the way, let's not forget to throw this one in. Post 2020, when everyone was at home and many people were out of a job, they discovered this as the income stream. And that also jumped the numbers of people that went, hey, I'm not going back to the restaurant anymore. I'm not going back to the 9 to 5 or the cubicle. And I can sit here and say things to my echo chamber that they'll like. And I can continually get paid on it. And all of a sudden, boom, I'm an internet celebrity that can
true.
buy things and pay
No,
bills from home.
that's a great point. And that's and because there's so many people, you can be the vet bro, you can be the sports, you can be the I
Hmm.
don't know, people at triathlon. Like everybody's got their own podcast host to listen to, and then you got the podcast guests that kind of cycle through. And which is interesting because honestly, if somebody's an interesting person and they're with a vet bro, and then they're with I don't know, whoever, somebody who's talking about diet or something, they probably have something to have something to talk about with both of those people. So it can be pretty interesting. I'm not trying to shit on it. It's just that it's definitely like you said, it's become a, I don't know, like we used to have newspapers and radio, and then there was television, and then there was cable TV, and then it changed. It's like that. We're seeing the change, and I don't know. I think podcasting will be around. I really think, and I think it's a United States phenomenon because we have the whole freedom of speech and the be able to, what do we call it? I think we just call it creating a platform. I think we would have called it like a soapbox or something back in the day. But now that people are comfortable with, even people in the newspaper days would have their loyal followers, people that bought the magazine or the newspaper or whatever based on their, being in it. So I think we've had that. I don't know if you call it celebrity, but I guess it's celebrity for a long, long time. But I think it's also the uniquely United States to have, you're allowed to speak your mind. Other people are going to listen to it, not just want to, fight you about it. Of course, we do have the fight you about it part, but we're free to have both of those, right? And I think it's the idea that we're free here to have a voice, that people take advantage of that, and now we see the, I don't want to say consequence. We just see the result of a bunch of people with a bunch of different voices all at the same time. I think we're doing pretty good with it, honestly. I mean, obviously it's a bad time to say that specifically, but in general, if I didn't say that this week, if I said it 2 weeks ago, I think everybody would agree with me that we're doing pretty good.
Oh, heck yeah. I mean, we are. It really sucks. But it's funny because people see what they want to see when they're looking at this coverage, right? I've been seeing people on both sides, right and left, people that don't like Charlie Kirk at all, going, "This is ridiculous. We need to stop. This is nuts. We need to bring this back to center and stop this." I mean, a lot of them. from comedians to, I mean, hell, right now Eminem and Kid Rock have gotten together and they're raising money for Charlie Kirk's family. Uh, and it's like, yeah,
because I
there are
would have thought
people that see.
those are people that would hate that guy's political talk or whatever, right?
Oh, he is. He does, but doesn't think someone should be murdered for it. And that's what gets me. It's like some people can see this was a dude that did not touch anybody. He did not espouse violence against anybody. But he had ideas that you wouldn't agree with. All right, cool. And what did he do with them? He went to college campuses and actually tried to have conversations with people. Didn't hate them. Did not curse them out. Just talk to them. And the reason you see it, or we saw it, depends on what your feed looks like, was when he owned one of these kids for saying something corny. Well, guess what happened on the other side of the Twitterverse or whatever platform? They saw when, I guess they heard or saw, they clipped it in such a way that he just came off as this horrible human being. We were
Well, that's
both,
what I was
because I don't
getting
know
at.
Charlie Kirk from a bucket of paint.
It's
Yeah,
tough
I
to
don't know
say.
Charlie Kirk from a bucket of paint, by the way.
Me either. Yeah, good point. And I never watched them except for what you're saying, like the parts they shoved at
Mhm.
us. And I was the same way. I'm like, I don't want to listen
Yep.
to this guy. For one, he's always, he always brings up
Yeah.
religion into it, which is fine if you're a religious person and that's part of your being, and you're going to bring it up. You got all the right in the world to. But at the same time, if the only time I'm presenting with your opinion on anything, you're bringing that up, then I'm going to consider you a church person, like whatever you want to call that, like a preacher. I don't know the right terminology, but I'm going to consider you somebody who's an evangelical. Is that the right? I don't know that word.
Yeah,
Evangelical, right?
evangelical is a good one. Yeah,
I think that's the right word.
Christian, whatever. I mean, I'm
Right.
one, but I
Yeah,
don't bring
and
it in
like
every
I said,
argument.
well, I mean, the thing is, even if you brought it up every time you had a conversation, they put it out there like every time he said anything, it came out. So that's where, then
Mhm.
that's, again, this is tough to talk about it when we're laying on the days after kind of thing, but we're just talking about it. I don't think either one of us give a shit one way or the other. It's not like we're trying to talk shit. But I think I am trying to say that,
Nope.
yeah, people got to realize that, like I was just going to say when you were done talking, the thing that's been kind of driving me nuts lately, and I really have to stop and talk about the beginning of this whole thing. But anyway, what's been driving me nuts lately is the one where they go, here's us not celebrating, but dealing with the loss of Charlie Kirk, and then here's them dealing with the loss of, and then it's like a lot.
Mhm.
And I'm like, well, fuck you. Like,
Yeah.
that's the kind of shit that it gets people fucking going. And now you go, why would they get mad at Charlie Kirk? Well, because of what you just fucking did. Like, you just took, something that has to do with him passing and the nonsense of the lack of sense in that, and, being assassinated and all that. And then right away, like, took it to an extreme. Like, again, like looking over that fence, all you're seeing is the people who went to all the trouble of putting a sign up in the air so that you could see it over the fence, but don't necessarily represent everybody on the other side of the fence, because how would you know? You're not even looking across the fence. You're just looking up over the fence. Anyway, so it's that kind of thing where, because that's not the case, like you just said, there's definitely people out there who are reaching across and trying to say, this was nonsense. Let's stop this, right? Like, here, let's realize that this is a bad thing that happened, period. And I'll, full stop. And I'm just not watching anything. So it's not like I'm saying I've seen a bunch of it either, but I know that it's out there. I'm not stupid. I'm not like unaware that there's going to be a spectrum of stuff. And they like the robots, the people, whoever is going to show you the part that they think you want to see. And if you're pissed off, they ain't going to show you the part that calms you down. They're going to show you the
Nope.
pissed off part. But yeah, it's been again, right? I mean, that's the worst part is, the tragedy, or not tragedy, atrocity of the event, because it was deliberately caused by an individual. I say it's an atrocity, not a tragedy. So the atrocity, which was, it's not the first time anything like this has happened, is just like made even worse, I think, by the fact that no one's growing from it, or that there's seems to be a lack of people growing from it. I don't want to be pessimistic and suggest that I've seen everything. I haven't. I've only seen the stuff that's forced at me too. But it hasn't changed much from the other, fill in the blank. And then I do watch the reaction though. And I'll watch a couple of people on both sides who are, I don't want to say on both sides. I watch people all over the place. Like, I watch Edgar from Guns for Everyone, And I don't know
Mm-hmm.
what else side he's on. He's not on his side. That's one of the reasons I watch him. And then
Yep.
some other people who are like that, like, but maybe, I don't know if you watch Matt Never Enough Ammo, like, those guys, that
Mhm.
group
Oh,
of
I
people.
haven't watched Matt in a minute, but yeah, I know who he is.
But you mean whatever you watched the last time, it's exactly the same. That group doesn't change too much from
Mhm.
their like reaction to everything. So anyway, watching those different things, that's where I that's my barometer. After a amount of time knowing people out there, knowing where the different what do you call them, like groups of people get together, and then of those groups of people that get together, I'm not going to watch the worst of their shows. I'm not going to watch, so I watch what I know. I'm not necessarily, I'm sure I'm not watching the best of their shows either. I'm just watching the people I know, and that's how I monitor.
Mhm.
But I want to start out, and just because this whole thing was the timing was so screwed up. And this is all appropriate because it's the same topic but different events, different humans, as Edgar would say. The I posted on, oh man, whatever day it happened. Was it 10th? I think it was the 10th. It's pretty easy to remember because it happened the day before.
Yeah, it was the 10th. Yeah.
11th. So on the 10th, I woke up and I was minding my business. I don't know if I was having a good day or a bad day. I just was noticing that I don't put Instagram on my phone. I'll preface by that. I don't scroll on my phone anymore. So I sat down to deliberately scroll Instagram, see what was up, because I do scroll Instagram occasionally once or twice a day now instead of a lot like I used to. But I was just getting fed garbage, and I was just sick of wasting my time getting fed garbage. So I've started doing some other projects with my phone, and I'm gonna say I enjoy it. But either way, I still monitor the Instagram, and I was scrolling through, and the girl in whatever state it was got stabbed by some fucker, and
North Carolina. Mm-hmm.
thanks. So I don't want to bring it up more than to say, if you've seen the whole thing, I'm sorry, but most of the time you just see the stabbing, which is bad enough. It's like a movie or something, the violence that we see in a movie level. I was scrolling through and I was kind of getting annoyed that I was seeing her murdered. Like, it was just like, come on, like, is that the
Mm-hmm.
fourth time I've seen a girl murdered? Like, what the hell? Especially when oftentimes and I only know this because I like the phrase, but oftentimes our sales say the other side coffin serves, and it just sounds like a
Yep.
fucking cool term or whatever. So I like it when we say that, the anti-rights fuckers who will jump up and down as soon as there's a murder, right? As soon as there's a murder involving a gun, they'll jump up and down, and then we know that after about a few hours, the details come out, and if the details fit, they'll never shut up about it, and it'll be on that'll be on their uh,
Mm-hmm.
playbook for the rest of the time. But if it doesn't, it disappears from all existence, and it doesn't never happen. It'll
Yep.
show up in their numbers, but it'll never show up on their tongues again. And that kind of shit was bugging me. And I'm like, we always bring light to that. And how can we be any better if I got to scroll through a feed and see this poor girl get murdered more than once? And I'm just thinking all that in my head, and I saw the whole thing. And the whole thing, I don't even want to describe it other than you see her actually perish, like, her extinguish. And I've had the unfortunateness of seeing that in real life. I do not want to see it online, like ever. I don't like, you know what I mean? I don't watch movies that are into that. People like that kind of shit. I'm assuming they're young and they like things that are scary or something. But people that have been through scariness, I don't know very many of them that want to go back and experience anything like that. So that's what that was the straw, right? I saw the whole thing, and it was a person we all know, and it drives me nuts. And I was like, I don't want to just rage against them because they're not doing anything all that different than anybody else is doing right now. But I gotta say something because this drives me nuts. So I made that damn meme with the dude pushing both buttons, and it took me a
Mm-hmm.
minute because I suck at making memes, right? And I made the meme of you're gonna at the other side surfing coffin surfs, but I can show a dead body anytime I want. And then I labeled it something like "Murderers don't get my attention, and if you want to give them your attention, fine, but don't force it on me." Basically, is what I was trying to say. Like, leave the rest of the world alone. We don't need to see a murder just because you like showing murders. It's disgusting. And then I tried to say something like, we can't get even show like a gun to clean it. We can't take apart a gun.
Mm-hmm.
We can basically hold a gun. We can't shoot a gun. On some platforms, we can't even hold it. Yet I can see this murder like 14 times, and it was just driving me nuts because I didn't like seeing murders all the time. And I did all that. I posted it because it takes me like an hour to post everything because I'm rusty. My robots do all my shit for me now. So like for me, actually posting something, I'm like, kid, like it's taking me forever, and I get all happy. I'm proud of myself. I come up for air. I've posted it everywhere, and then I found out about Kirk, and I'm like, are you kidding me? Like worst timing in the world, I put up this meme about murders and stuff. So there's nothing I could do. Like, it started going around, and I put it up so many places I couldn't take it down fast enough, so I didn't bother. So I think a lot of people think I'm a heartless dick for putting that up like moments after that happened. But I was really raging about that poor girl. I mean, the girl's situation is tragic, but for all of the people that had to watch that poor girl perish, it was horrible. And I don't know where the hell that line was drawn. It's not yesterday or nothing. It wasn't this situation. It was a while ago. But somewhere there, we all decided, it's cool. Let's just show death on the internet. It's okay. And that, I don't know if that was like the bad thing to happen or one of the worst bad things to happen, but it was certainly not a good thing, I don't think, having us all. And then I posted that, and I said something like, I wonder how many subs I'll lose, because some of the people posting that are people I know and people that, I mean, I guess they're friends of mine, people I watch at least. And I only got one or two people that said, like, I don't care, like, say whatever opinion you want, like, it's valid. I think you said thumbs up or something. So, like, but a couple of people said something to the effect of, it's like, I guess there might have been one. I'm trying to remember because there's a lot of platforms, right? And where all the comments are coming from. I think there was one that was something more of like, it's free speech. I can do whatever I want. And I was like, yeah, of course. But, then you can have discretion and just choose not to let little kids see this or whatever. But then the other two negatives or whatever, opposite feedbacks were, you got to show this. Like, people have to see this. You have to harden them up. And I just don't get it. I'm not into that. I understand the John Wayne movie where he throws the kid in the water to teach him how to swim, but he was in, water that he could stand up in, and John Wayne was standing right there. So it wasn't necessarily throwing you in a perilous situation like, life or death, sink or swim. It was funny for the movie or whatever. But in reality, I just don't think there's a necessity to teach to put kids into stress or into, what is that called? I don't want to know the right words, but like into trauma, I guess, or to even approach trauma for education. I just don't think it's necessary, but maybe I'm wrong for something like that. But again, this is a murderer made the decision to be a murderer. Like, where did they get all this power that now other people's kids are involved? Like, that just seems like such a line to draw. I'm going all over the place, but I just figured since we're talking deep topics today, I'd throw that one out there, since that's how it all started for me. I had no idea. Like I said, I don't watch him. I mean, it was coming up in the news everywhere, but it was all happening while I was making that damn meme. So, like I said, I'm sure there's at least dozens, if not 100 people out there or more that think I'm a massive asshole. I mean, that I'm a massive asshole. I'm not saying I'm not, but because I posted that meme like moments after the news came out about Charlie.
Yeah, dude. I have skipped over enough stuff because it's people with check marks by their name that really just want to get traction and get points or get paid for engagement, saying the stupidest shit. And if you agree with it, that's your guy. He's just saying what needs to be said. It's like, no. They all can shut the fuck up. Like, there's nothing that needs to be said.
Right.
Yeah, my thing is, yes, let's work together and understand that this is dangerous for America as a whole to have political violence. Political-based violence does not lead to anything good. It leads to lots of death and killing fields. And we've seen it over and over in history. It starts with this person that's a public figure, and then the other side or another person on the same side gets killed, and now it gets crazy. We've seen it. Sad part is most people stop paying attention to history after they take their last history test. And others just concentrate on the things they like. Like, I'm a World War II guy. Oh, I like Vietnam, Vietnam War history. Many people don't concentrate on actually what happened throughout, like the deaths of Martin Luther King Jr., Malcolm X, Robert Kennedy Sr. And there were others that were killed through the political violence in the late 60s. We were able to pull out from it. Other countries won't and collapse because of it. And you end up having lots of people killed, the growth of a nation retarded, or if not, that nation gets taken over by somebody or absorbed by another country. Like, nothing good comes out of the political violence except lots of deaths and opportunities lost by many people that were killed or that were destroyed or had their lives destroyed or had to flee to other countries. I mean, just a ripple effect of the stupidity that can happen because of this And then you have it perpetrated by a bunch of people that just want TikTok money.
Mm.
It's like you're motivated by that. And let's not forget, there are third party countries and organizations that want to wreak havoc and profit from this.
Well, that's a big piece of it, that none of the pointer adders, whatever you want to call the people that are saying the other side is
Hmm.
the problem, none of them even acknowledge that there could be a third party standing there watching both sides and making asses out of them. And that's the scary part.
Yep.
When no, I'm going to say that's the scary part. That's a scary part, that they don't take a breath and realize that, because it's kind of like if there was a fire alarm and you had to run out of a building because of a fire alarm, and once you got outside, you realized whatever, it's a prank or whatever, it's not a fire. It'd be like standing there in the street naked, or just a towel on or something, just unnecessarily, for whatever reason, if it's raining or if it's a crime area or if it's just, it's a dusty street or something. And it's just, oh, we could go back inside and talk, or we could stand out here. Like, sometimes it's just dumb to not understand your surroundings. And that's how I feel like these knee jerk or reactive uh, uh, channel, or whatever you want to say, like events. I'm going to blame it on the channels, because it's all the people hanging out in the channels too. The reason these channels exist because audiences of people want to watch that shit. So it's not like they're the only ones. We're having to single them out because they like host the show. But I don't know who Chase Hughes is. Ghost understand. I was just reading the comments. That last rec. Where's that? Trying to think of where I'm at, and I started reading. So he said Chase Hughes. Do you know who that is?
No.
So let's go that way. Like, we were talking about some of the frustrating things. Anything good or spectacular, I guess, or positive,
Well,
at least different, like anything taking place that we don't have to be bitching all the time?
yeah, let's bank, because all this does is frustrate me. We had a diversity shoot. We had a diversity shoot, and if nobody knows about diversity shoots, I bring people together from different backgrounds, introduce them to firearms, Second Amendment organizations. We shoot guns, have pizza, and they win really cool prizes. So we had that Thursday, and we had a whole group of. We had a lot of new people come in, which was great. I was able to introduce them to not only cool firearms, but I also brought this subject up and talk about bringing us together. And that's why I'm doing this, to bring people from every background together to actually fight for civil right. And then we went to the range, and man, my guys came through with some really cool guns. They had the new Staccato HD that came out, that was premiered at SHOT Show this year. Well, one of the guys actually won it in an online contest, so he had his there. He also had the B&T. Dang, I forgot the name of this dang thing. It's a 9mm submachine gun, semi-automatic, but it's a 9mm, sold as a 9mm pistol. And then in Jersey, we actually have, you can have any other weapon, AOW. So he had it actually built into an AOW, and we had that there. And I think my guys pointed out how ridiculous it is that we can't have short barrel rifles and we can't have AR pistols, but we can have an AOW with a folding stock and a vertical grip, but we can't have the other two because the other two are too dangerous. So those are the kind of things we point out, and it really opens people's eyes. We had one guy, he's Indian. He came through and he only purchased one firearm. And when he went through and saw all that stuff, he was like, I think I'm ready to buy my second firearm now. I'm going to have to talk to my wife about this. And it was just really cool. And we had one of the ladies who doesn't own a firearm, but she found something she dug. So, and she'll probably be joining one of our Second Amendment organizations because of the conversations we had. So I think we've sold guns there at this last event, and we got people to join Second Amendment organizations. So I feel it was really successful for an event that we didn't even sell out this time. I think we were like we were 5 tickets short of selling out. But we sold out We Shoot at the end of the month.
Okay.
We shoot out at the end of the month already. So I have to put up, actually, I think I might post the tickets for the rest of the year's diversity shoots so people know they can get in, especially since we sold out 3 weeks ahead of time. for the next event.
So that's what I was going to ask. Well, first off, for people that don't listen every week or whatever, Tony talks about the diversity shoot every week, but I think what we run into is, what do we call it? Like assumptions, I guess, because we talk about it every week, and you do so many of them that we have ones to talk about that we just assume everybody knows what we're talking about. So you described it a bit there. I would describe it that Tony started in 2015 from scratch, with like not seeing anything that I'm aware of that like you started from. You just started bringing, as a kind of a project, bringing people to a range to offer some kind of orientation and some first time opportunity to like experience a firearm, ask questions, that kind of thing. But then like adjacent to that, obviously you're doing it at a shooting range, which is almost always a shooting or a gun shop. And then because of the diverse nature of the shoot, you've got, like you just said, people that have just bought a gun, people like yourselves that own guns for a while and understand the whole thing, and then people that might not even own a gun yet who are just curious. And you provide this like on ramp or whatever, like this way for people to feel comfortable, because it's not a hunting class and it's not, I don't know, like a hip hop class, and it's not like a yoga class. It's it's not like a like you're setting off incense and like people would be uncomfortable if they weren't, what I mean, like you're making it as comfortable as can be, as inviting as can be. It has to be at a range because of the nature of the thing, but as far as like giving people an introduction, so that's the event. But then that description you lay down on top of, you do this twice a month pretty much, right? And then different ranges around mostly New Jersey, but then throughout the country over the years. So different gun shops, because you don't want to monopolize any single shops like space. They've taken up their classroom and a bunch of their bays when you do this, and they do this for free. The ranges give you the space to do it. But anyway, you go to these different ranges to kind of space it out. And I think that also, I don't know if intentionally, or at least it works out for the people in New Jersey in the areas, because they don't have to all go to like we shoot, which is what, on the east side, I guess, southeast. And then
it's south, yeah.
I think it is when I look at the map. But then, or compared to at least the original range, I kind of think of Anthony's range.
North.
I can't think of the name of it.
Gun for Hire.
Gun for Hire.
Gun for Hire range.
I knew it had a 4 in it, but the Gun for Hire range is right up next to New York. So that's allowing different, you say it's the diversity shoot, and everybody immediately goes to, oh, black and white. Like, no, there's all kinds of diversity. So part of that diversity is people live where they live at, and they live in New Jersey-ish, kind of, I suppose. But I suspect the people that live in New Jersey are different than each other. So no matter what the hell color, their race or whatever other thing you want to distinct them between. So there's a lot of diversity in this, and that's why I thought it was a neat project or whatever. But then now over time, you've got sort of, I don't know what to call it, like the experience, I guess, of all you and all the guys that show up to help as volunteers to run the thing. I don't even know how much experience you've got doing this. So it must have changed a little bit over time, just because you've got, you've done a bunch of them. But anyway, I guess the reason I'm explaining all that is for anybody who hasn't, who if we haven't explained it fully, if we just assumed that you knew what we're talking about, because maybe people thought you had some kind of club or something where you just show up and, so you talk about pizza and stuff. Maybe like you're hosting something for like birthday parties or something. Like, I'm not sure what somebody might have thought. But I think I had a reason to explain all that. I was going to ask. So, and I guess I could go on and on talking about the specifics of it. So if anybody has any specific questions, feel free to ask. I'll just stop there so that I don't embarrass myself with not understanding it all. But I just wanted to kind of show that dynamic, that a bunch of different people kind of chaotically, like randomly show up. Tony, I guess a couple of people show up more than once, but aside from your volunteers, like you're just meeting these people for the first time usually, right? It's not like you have
many of them
session with them or anything. So when people are signing up, they sign up through Eventbrite, which is like a online ticketing thing like you would use if you were going to go to, I don't know, a sporting event or a ballet, or probably some event for your kids at this point. Like, it's just a way to ticket, this event has 50 slots. So Eventbrite helps organize all that for people. So when I was going to ask, the reason I'm prefacing all this or leading up to all of this was for a question. because people can't just, or usually don't just show up on the spur of the moment whim a diversity shoot. Usually they sign up on Eventbrite some amount of days ahead of time, which gives you a lead time and knows how many pizzas you should buy, kind of thing, how much ammo to bring, I suppose. But you know what I mean? Like if that's the typical case that people are signing up ahead of time, when something like this happens, this week happens, and news changes things, and I'm assuming may or may not influence somebody's decision to go to one of these events. Like either, I'm guessing it's probably half and half. Some people are thinking maybe I shouldn't go to this event. I'm not going to go this week for the first time ever to a gun range, after this week's of news. And then some other people, I'm sure just many probably are like, I just heard what happened. I definitely want to get to a gun range. Oh, I can do it this Thursday. Like I'm on board. So I guess that was my long ass way of asking the question. Did the events of last week change the mix of the existing diversity shoot? And then do you think they're gonna, that because it's not just Charlie, like a lot of shit happened this week. I don't want to displace any of it because it's all, a lot of it was bad, but it was all, important for, especially for the people involved. But for us as a society, I think there's all important elements to all of this stuff, especially since it all happened, but because it all happened, each thing has its own significance, but because it all happened in the same week, it's like this week has some extra significance to it. So I guess that's my question. Did it change this last diversity shoot, and do you think it'll have effect going forward? Then I'll shut up.
I don't think it changed the diversity shoot at all. I've noticed, no one said anything. I'll go ahead and put it out there. Now, I've had diversity shoots on the day of mass shootings. I've had a diversity shoot happen on the day that the Uvalde happened. Last week, I think it was only a couple of days after the Minnesota shooting happened. So I don't think people sign up for it, but I feel I'd let them down if I didn't bring it up, because obviously, especially the day it happened, we still didn't know what was going on when the diversity shoot started. But I bring it up, and one of my worries is that I'll get someone in who just wants to start trouble at one of the events. You know what I mean? Just wants to be a problem. And I'm willing to have actual conversations, but I'm not going to be baited into some BS, and I'm not going to allow it to take from other people's time. But no, I haven't had any issues with it. I've had people come, and nobody's ever brought up the current events, like not once. I do it.
Considering you did it through a lot of current, a lot of crazy at the time current events. Yeah.
Yeah, I bring it up. I bring those current events up because there's no reason to shy away from mass shootings, and to tell people how rare it is, and how the Buffalo shooting that happened on the same day, I think. Oh, it was really recently, close to a diversity shoot. I'm sorry, I can't think of it off the top of my head, but we have them every 2 weeks. So it's hard to kind of remember.
Every other Thursday, that means everything happens within 2 weeks of one. Yeah.
Exactly. So we had the event, and I was like, watch how quickly this one disappears, because it does not fit the anti-gun narrative of white guy AR-15 shooting white people. And I was like, it's sad, because when I'm trying to explain to you that I'm here because I believe you're your first responder and you're responsible for yourself and keeping your family safe with firearms, because there's evil out there that wants to harm you just because you're you. But the media on the flip side will use your death to push their agenda. And if it's not the agenda, it's not the story they want, they will walk away from your death like it made no difference to anyone. I was like, it's ridiculous. And also, flip side, we in the firearms industry actually have organizations that try to help you and those who think about self-harm. We have programs, we have people, we have outreach. The other side that is anti-gun has none of that, but they will use the nearly 65% of firearms-related deaths that are suicide. They will use it to push their political agenda, but will do nothing to try to save lives. I was like, we have to pay attention to this when we're having conversations, and I try to bring that up during my diversity shoot in an organic way to point out we're here because we want you to be able to help yourself. And if you need help, we want to be there for you. That's when I bring up Walk the Talk America. Um, and my whole thing is to bring it together and understand and humanize firearms owners and kill that negative media driven stereotype. And also point out the media's game playbook. Like you said, every time something happens, it's the same playbook. Well, here, I'm going to call the plays before they happen. Or in the case of Uvalde, in the case of the Buffalo shooting, I'll call the plays as they're happening. And people, it's funny because in real life, when I'm in front of that room and I have blacks, whites, Asians, Indians, like everything, it looks like the lunchroom at the UN. So never assume it's just a room full of white people or it's an echo chamber or everyone has the same background. And I'm looking around the room and I make eye contact with everyone. I limit the tickets to 20 tickets. Sometimes I have as many as 25, new people as attendees in the room. But I'm making eye contact with everyone as I'm talking around the room. And when I hit some of these points, I'm looking at a black woman in her 40s nodding her head. I'm looking at a Hispanic girl in her early 20s as a college student nodding her head on the other side of the room. And of course, I see the conservative looking, which, when you say conservative looking, middle-aged white guy with a beard, he's shaking his head because we all see the same thing. But when we go on social media, when you listen to mainstream media, you think, oh, we're just at 90 degrees away from each other in every discussion. It's like, no, pretty much about 98% of things we all have in common, or at least are close enough that we understand the other person's point of view. And we only divert maybe to 1 to 2% of topics. But those are the ones they try to freaking concentrate on and split us apart on. Those are the cracks they try to exploit. And I'm like, don't let them do that. Because the them we're talking about are the ones that try to control us as a society, what we think, how we react, and we have to fight back against that and understand. To me, the death of Charlie Kirk happening on September 10th, but the reactions on September 11th, I drew the parallels between how it can bring Americans together, just like it happened 24 years ago. And we can get through this and pull back from the brink of this divisiveness and not buy into it. But we have more enemies now against unity because, again, like I said, people in social media are getting paid to push it. So I try to bring people together to diversity shoots and show how much we have in common. And like, look, we have to push back against this and understand that we're all on the same page in this room. We're all going to enjoy some pizza. We're all going to have fun. I'm going to make jokes about everyone and everyone's background. And we're going to laugh about it because it's coming from a place of love because we're real people. And real people actually care about each other. And we don't try to shove each other in these predetermined demographics that if you're this, then you 100% have to think this way. And if you're this, you have to 100% think that way. And there's no way you can come outside the little square box I drew around you. And when you say it out loud in a room full of people, they see how ridiculous it is and they agree.
I don't know. I don't think people, when one of the elements or one of the aspects of maybe of going online and deciding what you're going to watch instead of having it presented to you, like on a news program or something used to be in the back in the day, is that I like cherry flavor. I'm only going to get cherry flavor. Like the whole world of watermelon could go crazy and you would never know because you're only buying the cherry flavor, listening to the cherry flavor stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe that's, nobody says, hey, you know what? I want to only listen to one side of the thing. But they do say, hey, you know what? I want to listen to what I like, what feels to my ear or whatever.
100%. People do that. And I don't fault them. I know I was raised differently, but my dad, it's hilarious. This is one of the advantages, I guess, of being raised by a guy who started going to college as a young father. So the things that he saw that he thought were interesting or important, he tried to pass on to me. You know what I mean? Like many people graduate college and start their family, and college is just something you've already done. But my dad was taking like philosophy classes and things like that. And he was like, wow, I want my kid to be exposed to different things. So what he did was had me listen to the news, but he had me listen to different news channels, different news sources. And this was back in, the Cold War days. So I would listen to Radio Moscow, Radio Cuba, the BBC, Voice of America. Like he had me listen to those programs so I could see that the top stories around the world, because it's usually the two or three first stories around the world were the same, but they all had a different perspective. And he had me look at that and see how people can be shown the same story, but with a different spin. And that really helped me when I started looking at the news, especially in the last decade or 2 decades. It's just become really partisan and almost ridiculous to the point that it's propaganda from both sides. All of them are just manipulating the way you are and manipulating their audience, and they're less interested in just telling the truth. And as a Second Amendment dude, when I concentrate on that and I see how wrong the mainstream media is about firearms, I'm like, well, are they right about anything? Like if I was into the pharmaceutical industry, would anything they say be correct? Or are they just as wrong about pharmaceuticals as they are about firearms? Or are they just as wrong about real estate as they are about firearms? I'm thinking yes.
Well, even if they're not wrong, they're going to take a position or have an angle, right? Like they're going to have some focus that they care about. So gun owners, when we talk about the forest, we care about maybe hunting or like access to shooting areas. We barely ever give a shit about trails or how the differences between like horses or bicycles or motorcycles on a trail, like, which one is worse for a trail, where the trails are laid, if there's enough trails in an area, if there's trailheads, you know what I mean? Like they got issues. Those people in those areas have issues all over the place. They have conversations like this going, how do we get people to give a shit about our trails? Because they have such, but do they care about us? No, we just get in the way of their writing, like, oh, they assholes take up a hole and they leave a mess. And you know what I mean? Does anybody try to get us together? No. Does the Forest Service or any of the people on the public sector, is that what it's called? The public sector side, they don't have any obligation or interest in getting us together. I've been in places on the planet where the people in the position of either, I don't know who organized it, I'm thinking about it. I don't think it was a newspaper. I think it was like Forest Service or somebody kind of saw that, like in Arizona, at least, we have a lot of influences on some parts of the areas around the deserts around Tucson. So if you bring all those entities together and we can talk it out, we can figure some shit out. And that's what we ended up doing and kind of establishing ways to do stuff that we would all lay off of each other and lay off the environment. And some of that was like having periodic cleanups of the shooting areas. The main shooting areas are off the main roads, and pretty much everyone knows where they are. And just by simply, it was already happening, but just encouraging and helping the folks who are organizing those cleanups, just made it where, now those people driving up there to do four-wheeling or hiking or bird watching or whatever else stuff they're going to do out in the forest, when they drive past a shooting area, now they either see the cleanup itself, the garbage cans, so that the area is maintained, you know what I mean? Like there's just that like, I don't know what to call that, like that working together, and government isn't tasked with it. The people that love the government, I think they will acknowledge that the government isn't tasked with that. Like that's up to us. And there's some sectors, usually outdoors, lakes and things like that, like maybe boundary areas where states all smash into each other, where regular people get together and go, look, the states aren't going to help us. They can only go up to this street, and that state can only go up to this street, but we live on both sides of the street, so let's just make it work here. And they come up with traditions and procedures and shit. And that's what I think what'll happen with the internet. I'm thinking we're going to see a couple of more changes because of the AIs and because of the virtual stuff. We haven't quite finished, what the internet's going to actually look like, for our grandkids. But eventually the internet will be something like TV. Like it'll be pretty similar for a while. And I think once we get to there, like an equilibrium or maybe whatever the words are, like I think we'll get our sea legs. We'll figure out how to work together, just be on the same place with each other without, I think one of the things, going back to Kirk, is that I've seen man, I can't remember who it was, and I don't want to give credit to the asshole who hates guns, but I think it might have been somebody talking about something because of what that guy did. But the guy who hates guns so bad, I can't think of his name. Some author hates guns so bad he wrote a book about how much he hates guns, and every one of his books has guns in it. So I can't stand the guy. But that guy said something and then had to retract it, right? And the whole point was, you know, when somebody's having a conversation, they'll say like, "Here's some horrible thing," quote unquote, that was said by somebody else, right? And somebody took that. Charlie Kirk, imagine, said that, like, "Here's some horrible thing. I'm going to quote so and so," and they said, "Here's some horrible thing," right? I'm inserting "here's some horrible thing," so you know, for some horrible thing, I just don't feel like saying something horrible. But then they took him quoting someone, sent that around, and a bunch of people who could care less heard it as, "This is the kind of shit that Charlie Cook says," instead of, "Here's the kind of stuff Charlie Kirk was referencing one time." And you know what I mean? Like that kind of stuff. That can only, how many times are we going to be fooled by that? You know what I mean? Even if it's unintentionally, like we're going to figure that shit out at some point. When there's a curvy road and everyone falls off it, at some point somebody goes out there and puts up some pie plates. You know what I mean? Like somebody doesn't, we don't always wait for the government to come by and go, "Oh, here's a guardrail." You know, we figure out how to not fall off a curvy road, or, you know, how to deal with stuff. All we need is some time on the clock, some back and forth. But it just definitely does seem like it's failing us. Like we haven't mastered it. I'm trying to watch. Let me ask it this way: I don't think I'm cutting us off on some other topic. I know we have an actual question out there, but I think it actually relates to the whole thing. But I was going to say, who do you think's the most positive channel out there? I'm going to say Rebecca Schmoy, but that's just off the top of my head because like I said, I kind of do Instagram differently now. I only do it a couple of times a day, so that's just one that stood out to me as far as like basically positive posts that are going out there that don't even have to necessarily reference any of the situations, because we all know the situations we're living in. But she's just saying like, take a breath, you know, think of the big picture and think about what you're saying and who you're saying it about and when, you know. So to both sides, I think that went out well. It wasn't preachy.
Yeah, exactly. So Rebecca's really smart, and she's I love Rebecca because she brings that calm to the table. She's now a politician, but she's a politician that didn't want to be a politician. So she's a politician that didn't want to be a politician. So she brings common sense. She brings that Kansan common sense to the situation. Another friend that I really dig right now is Chelsea Lyons. She's a writer. She actually met me while she was working on writing a writing project for Harvard University, and she's one that's calling for calm and calling for people to think and actually have conversations with people. I don't think she's really one of those people that looks for public. She's not one of those public people. You know what I mean?
Like seeking
Like she
fame.
only has like 500 followers. Yeah. She only has 500 followers. I started following her because I was reached out to by some friends of mine. Gina, what's Gina's last name? Dang, Gina, Republican, trans, women for gun rights out of California. Can't think of Gina's last name, and I feel like an idiot. Anyway, Gina reached out and said this lady was writing a book and wanted me, and Gina recommended me. Gina Roberts. And Gina recommended her speak to me. So Gina hooked us up. We actually had conversations. She's a wife of a military guy. She just got her master's from Harvard. And she's traveled the world with her husband. You know, when her husband was stationed in Europe, she travels the world. She's a photographer. She's an author. And she's really centrist, but she considers herself, I think, more like conservative, but not a conservative. And she's been asking people to take a step back, take a breath, and actually have a conversation with real people, not argue with entities on the internet that are there for a plethora of reasons. Like They could just be there to troll. If they're real people at all, they could be just there to troll and instigate. They could be just that stupid. They could be a bot designed to start arguments and cause divisiveness. And she's like, take a step back, take a breath and read it,
Well,
and read the room a little bit.
I've always said there's the 14-year-old kid element, and they're the asshole. And
Mhm.
a lot of people probably weren't this 14-year-old kid or don't know this 14-year-old kid. And I say kid because I think girls do the same things probably. But when you're 14 and you whatever your circumstances is, I don't need to go into circumstances. Everybody can imagine
Mhm.
where you're feeling like you need attention / discipline probably, and you act out. Every age group does this, but I'm thinking like that 14-year-old is like young enough that they don't even think about being 18. You know what I mean? They're a kid still, but they're way beyond
Mhm.
13. And I don't have kids or nothing. I'm just trying to remember back when I was a kid and the kids I knew and stuff. But I'm thinking a 14-year-old is old enough to figure out how to do some pretty complicated, heinous shit. And then also at the same exact time have no concept of how bad they're fucking doing shit. You know what I mean? Like just screwing things up and
Mhm.
just and I'm going to say innocently because they're doing it, but they just don't realize how bad a thing. And maybe Woods or somebody who knows kids better than I do, like can tell me if I'm in the wrong age group or something. But anyway, I attributed a lot of it to that. And when I was first on the internet, I was at AOL. I worked at AOL. So I think at this point, there's got to be, I can talk about stuff. Like we had some pretty amazing parental controls, let's say at AOL. I won't get all into that, but if anybody wants to talk about that, like I got to see that stuff. I didn't work in that department, but I had friends in that department. I worked in the same building with that department, and AOL took people having trouble online very seriously, very seriously. They put a lot of effort into making sure that the environment was safe on AOL as much as they could. So anyway, I definitely got to see some of the stuff that happened, or at least hear about it. Like I said, I didn't work in that department, but I definitely got to hear about smoking breaks and stuff. And I'm just going to say, people need to wait. People underestimate far too much. People need to realize how much damage little kids are doing on the internet. Like, because 13 is pretty much the line where you can use the internet, like without your parents or something, I think. Again, I should be an expert on this, but I don't really do kid stuff on the internet. So I don't know where the line is, but I'm pretty sure it's 13 ish. So at 14, the kid's been online for a minute, but he's still a little kid and he's still on, he, she, whatever, the kid's online. And they're wreaking havoc the same way they would in real life. And that's the kid who's going to start something on fire on a whim because they think fire's cool. They don't realize that fire can spread because they've never dealt with anything. They have never had responsibility yet. And that's the kind of shit when you think of that kid, the kid that's burning some, whatever, a kid starts burning leaves or papers or something, little kids playing with fire,
Mhm.
right? I mean, I'm pretty sure that's how Chicago Fire started probably. Some kids playing with fire. That's how they realize fire gets out of control, because the first time it goes out of control on them. And then maybe that kid becomes a firefighter or something, you know what I mean? Like, it's not necessarily, I'm not like ragging on little kids being dumb, but that's what I'm saying. Like, that same equivalent happens online all the damn time. And when you see somebody having a conversation and somebody just jumps in and says weird stuff, I don't immediately think like, there's a competent adult coming up and challenging me. I immediately, because of my experience at AOL and stuff, I immediately assume everybody who's an
Mhm.
idiot on the internet is a dumb kid standing in their parents' shoes, wearing their dad's suit, trying to act like a person, doing weird shit. And the only thing they know is volume all the way up. You know what I mean? Like crazy talk. And I mean, how do you prove me wrong? Right? There's no way. But I think that people don't realize that a lot of times that's the whole thing. Is some dumb kid, I want to go make some noise, want to spray paint, whatever the little kid's angst is, and they're going to go do it online. And they know if they go talk to this group of kids or adults, like I'm going to like make fun of Matt's group because I've been in it long enough that I can make fun of them. But I'd be surprised if there isn't little 14-year-olds jumping in there and saying XYZ, because they know when they say XYZ, it's going to get them all mad and they're going to froth at the mouth for a little while and yell at them and blah, blah,
Mhm.
blah. And I'm like, come on, guys. Like, come on. I know you are all probably thinking you're talking to other adults, but like I say, from my perspective, I always put all the weirdos on the internet from like, is this a little kid first? And you can pretty much tell real quick if it's a little kid. I mean, because they're very, whatever, without getting into it, you can tell them, they don't have a lot going on. But if you can tell when it's an adult too, because they will have knowledge. They'll be able to speak with like some wisdom and shit. And you can tell if it's an adult keeping you going, they've got a whole different agenda. But I'm pretty sure a little kid is just like when a little kid, they think of the kid throwing rocks over the overpass. How often does that happen? And everybody over 14 knows that that's a super dangerous, dumbass thing to do. But I'm sure it's awesome when you're 13, you're watching rocks fall off and people skidding or whatever, like you have no concept that there's human beings down there. It's just, you haven't, all that shit hasn't connected. And I might be wrong because that's a pretty super dangerous thing to do. But I think I'm thinking of that. Like, what's the equivalent of that online? Going online into like a Charlie Kirk conversation and saying XYZ, and people immediately think like, this is terrorism. No, could be a 14-year-old dumbass. Anyway, I don't want to give excuses to nothing. And I don't want to justify nothing either. I'm just throwing it out there that as adults, when all of a sudden we're standing there having a conversation and it's the dumbest ass shit gets said, imagine if you were standing there having a conversation with another adult and a little 14-year-old kid came up and said that versus another adult came up and said that. And don't lay the, whatever was said on the, as if it's coming out of an adult all the time. Because again, like a kid comes up and says some crazy shit, that they're spinning off in their head and you're going to ignore it and keep having your conversation, right? We just can't do that online when they approach us as another username in the forum or whatever in the chat. Anyway, I'm going off on a tangent,
I mean, it's true. Well, my whole thing goes back to one of my co-hosts on Firearms Radio Network. He used to just laugh and says, yeah, I go on and I just say crazy shout out stuff just to get people pissed off. And I'm like, great. And that's what I think of when I think of this. I don't think about kids, but you're right.
And I just think, and it might not be kids, but somebody the equivalent of a 14-year-old, like, I'm bored, I can't afford to go to the bar, but I can go online and make fun of these guys and they're going to freak out. And it doesn't matter because they can probably go to 6 different, somebody who's just like that is probably going to go to like 4 different forums and know what to say to 4 different groups and just get them riled and then go to sleep all happy that they poked the world a little bit.
Yep. 100%.
And I think a lot of kids, Woods is saying that he has kids he knows that are 8 and are on the phone. I think all little kids are on the phone. I'm pretty sure that's a thing, but I'm pretty sure they're all playing like weird, dumb games, which is not good or nothing. I'm not justifying it. I just don't think too many of them are out playing on the internet, but maybe I'm wrong. That'd be cool if I'm wrong. I mean, I kind of think it would be cool if I'm wrong because I like to think of little kids learning all kinds of cool shit. But then again, I'm laying my trip on these little kids. I doubt they have. Well, they can't have all the wisdom. You know how it is when you're old. You're like, oh man, if I had the internet when I was a kid, I'd be smart as hell. I'd pass all my classes. But really,
if I had the internet when I was a kid, I would have made a whole bunch of mistakes that would be public knowledge.
That's all I was going to say. Yeah, in reality, we'd be doing the same exact things little kids are doing right now because we don't know nothing different. Until you're old, you don't know. You can't look back and know. Okay, so let's get that question that actually was a question, but I think it was in regards to, is that the rifle that was used?
Yeah, I guess so.
Okay.
That's what I heard.
So I grew up with surplus rifles and stuff, so like I'm aware of them, but I have a very small like capacity for like hard drive space, so I don't keep track of very many at all, not even the ones I own. So I don't think I've ever owned a K98, so I'm looking it up. Oh, it's a Mauser. That's why I don't have any interest in Germans. I'm the person that doesn't care about German guns. I mean, there's probably a few of us, but I know a lot of people like them, but I have like give a shit about whatever German guns. Anyway, it was probably chambered in metric caliber originally, right?
Yeah, I mean, they called it 8mm Mauser, but it's like 7.9 something. But the thing was, so many of these guns come back into America post World War II. If this is even, a military surplus Mauser, and not just a 30-06 made by the company Mauser. Again, I have not looked into any of this shooting for the specifics, but they rechambered a lot of guns for the civilian market because there were so many of them, and it was like, today people go, "Oh my God, they bubbled this gun up." Well, the gun was freaking $5 in a time where, a regular rifle was $25. You could buy this surplus rifle, but then you'd have to have that 8 millimeter Mauser that was hard to get. Well, you could have it rebarreled for 30-06. Why wouldn't you? And that's what people had done. Yeah. So, I mean, again, it could be a World War I or World War II bring back because they say Mauser 98. World War II, they used the 98 Ks, which was a shorter version, at least mostly. That was what issued then. The World War I version had a much longer barrel. So I have no idea. I haven't looked into it. I haven't become that engrossed in the Charlie Kirk murder that I want to freaking, look into every aspect of it.
I know that some of them were rechambered, basically because, like you said, the bullets just weren't available. I mean, but sometimes they didn't bother because it was Cold War, or I mean, World War surplus, like mounts, and then if it was a Cold War caliber. But anyway, they would rechamber them mostly just to put them into a caliber that was plentiful here, but occasionally to make them more accurate or whatever. But 30-06 doesn't sound like a Wildcat cartridge or some like fancy accuracy cartridge. It's a pretty much one tool does many type of cartridge. It seems like a big cartridge to put into. I mean, I don't know how big an 8 millimeter Mauser cartridge, the actual cartridge is, but the actions or whatever determine, like the size of the action, whatever would determine what kind of bullet can go in there, what it can be chambered for. Not so much like how much meat they can take out of the barrel.
So 8 millimeter Mauser is actually a 7.92 by 57 millimeter.
Oh, okay. Well, no, wait. What's not? I was going to say 308 is 51, but what is 30-06?
That's what I'm checking right now. 7.62 by 63.
Oh, so you got room. You got plenty of room. Did you say it was 70 something action?
The one was 57, 7.62 by, what the hell did I just say? I hate numbers. 7.6. The 30-06 is 7.62 by 63.
You can
The
kind of
Mauser
remember
is
30-06, but go ahead.
yeah. The Mauser is 7.92 by 57.
Oh no, see,
So
it
it's
is longer.
slightly larger. Yeah, slightly larger, but shorter. But it just might be rebarreled anyway.
Well, but I'm saying
What they say,
the
it's
size of
newish.
the action, like how big the bolt in action is.
Oh yeah, no.
Pull out the 30-06 is the. But obviously, it happened.
Yeah,
because
the action is fine.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
It is
I was
German.
listening to
They
so
probably
many people.
overbuilt the shit out of it.
Probably. Oh, well, yeah, definitely. I mean, because you were able to do all kinds of crazy things with the M1917 American, what they call the American Enfield, because it was so beefy that you could charge it up with anything, even though it shot 30-06s. Another thing that people were talking about was how hard it is to hit a man-sized target at 200 yards. It requires a sniper. I'm like, I've done it with a handgun repeatedly on a 14-inch target, standing with a gun I've never shot before. I'm like, this does not require sniper or special training or, secret CIA school.
Since the question came up, I only watched it once, so I've heard of this, and I might have even heard of it before I seen it, but I didn't know I was going to see it when I seen it, so I wasn't like prepared and waiting for taking notes. So then I'm not going to go watch it again. As far as like the actual footage of like some close-up camera that they've released of, well, that they didn't release, but has been released of Kirk actually being killed. So, but the question is from New York. Do you think he would have had a better chance if he didn't have armor on to deflect without a plate, or would he have been better odds without a plate? So that implies that he got hit somewhere in the chest, somewhere in the upper chest, I guess, with something that would deflect from a steel plate, which is a lot of stuff. Everything will spall, but some stuff of the whole mass will just deflect from the steel plate and like keep going. I guess depending on angles and stuff, that could have been what happened. I don't know if there's like a report that's official that said that is what happened. I think that's one of those, somebody got their head cut off with a seatbelt, so should you wear seatbelts? Like, that's just the coulda, shoulda, if. I don't think unless this happened on the regular, people getting shot in the chest and having the spall or the deflection take out either what they're like, maybe their elbow, or maybe not their elbow, their armpit, like, or blood, whatever they call that. Like, I can't think of arteries. They took out your arteries in your armpit, maybe, which I don't think that ever happens. So I'm reaching there. So I don't think there's enough time on the clock with people wearing plates and all this happening where there's fatalities to suggest that it's not worth having plates. I think it's overwhelmingly, plates are the way to go. If every once in a while something on the edge of a plate causes an injury that is, whatever you want to say, like consequential.
What do you mean, like the ricochet?
Yeah, I guess ricochet. Like, he's saying, I mean, if that's what the question would imply, right? Like, if the shot hit his plate and then the mass of the ricochet, I don't think it's a ricochet. When it hits a plate, it turns into melted lead. So it's technically
spalling.
Just like a splatter. Yeah,
but they call it spalling. But
if that mass was enough to like cause death, like, it just doesn't happen enough. Most of the time, plates save you. So I don't think that I would ever side with, because this happened, don't wear plates.
So if it was a regular 30-06 round, that's 180 grains, if I remember off the top of my head, because I definitely have closed that page out already. 180 grain bullet at 200 yards, that's still going to be solid. That's still going to be a big piece of lead coming at you. And it's going to hit hard. So you still had backside deformation where the round hits, it stops, but the kinetic energy still goes through the vest, pops out on the other side. So there's deformation on the backside that happens where your chest cavity is. That means your heart, your lungs, all that, broken ribs, heart palpitation that just causes you to die. So even if it was a solid hit, it could still take you out. Because again, 30-06. Now, could it have been some spalling that deflected and hit him through the neck? Could have been. I just have no clue.
It's like 30-06 as far as bullets go. I would rank it in a lot of metal, so a large a large projectile, so a lot of metal kind of going medium fast. Like, it's not the fastest moving thing, so its energy comes from, they push a lot of metal at you, and it doesn't go very far because there's the math, but when it hits, that's a lot of metal, that's a lot of mass, and it's effective as shit because we've been using it since the day Browning invented it, right? I think he invented it.
Yeah, we're talking I'm going with 100, because I think, because the original was 220, but then they turned into a Spitzer bullet for the military service. What is the cartridge? 150 grain. All right, so we got 150 grain round traveling to 2,900 feet per second. That's 2,800 foot-pounds at the barrel. At 200 yards, that's not slowing down. That's still friggin' probably 2,000 pounds of pressure hitting you in the face or upper chest. So yeah, it's even spalling is going to be dangerous, and that could have been what happened. I know nothing about it. Again, I'm learning from you guys about what happened.
But as far as that, my answer to anything like that, like, just when a specific weird thing happens, that's not an indication of a time to change gear. I think I'm more of the philosophy of it has to happen over and over and over. or be evident that it's about to happen. I mean, I don't have to watch people perish or something. You know, if a parachute's not going to open, obviously, like you can figure that kind of shit out before it doesn't open. But in general, I'd like to see repeatable issue before change and stuff. I know the big entities are going to be hesitant because that's not just a decision for them. It's cost and time and retraining and all this. So it's a massive undertaking. So they're not going to take it lightly. But, just as a whim or whatever, I don't see it being prudent or, as someone who can pivot, like an individual who can pivot, decide, I'm going to sell all that gear and buy this other gear instead. I just don't think it's prudent or whatever. I don't think it's necessary to change strategy every time there's a new piece of data. There's just too many other parts of life where it's better off to give it some time, have a lot more data sets, then make your decision. But in this case, it's going to be tough because very few people wear plates. I would actually find it surprising if this guy was wearing plates. That's a massively heavy thing to be carrying around at Utah. Like I could maybe see it if he was concerned at like California, unless he had like a death threat that was credible or something, which I'm assuming they would have come out with by now. I just don't. I mean, wearing plates. Nobody wears plates. I mean, who wears plates? Actually, they exist.
I wore plates to one class that I was instructing, and looked at my partner and went, "Won't be doing this crap again."
Yeah, they're super uncomfortable. They're super heavy. Like nobody really wears them. I mean, I guess maybe sitting at a stage you could wear them because you're just sitting there. It just doesn't. You would think unless he was super strong. You'd notice if somebody had plates on. Soft armor, it's like wearing a sweater or a big jacket or something. You can pretty much anybody can wear soft armor and not indicate it. But I think plates, there would be indicators. It would look big on. He wasn't a huge dude, and plates are thick because they're always on top of soft. You can't just wear plates. Oh shit! Some people do just wear plates nowadays. Most people don't just wear plates though. Because of this though. So that would be suck if you got plates and this was an issue.
Well, understand, Ronald Reagan got hit by that round not because Hinckley hit him with a bullet, but he got hit with a ricochet, or when the round flattened out, hit the side of his door and went into him.
Oh, I didn't realize that. And it hits what is that, the whatever that was, probably bulletproof glass or something. So yeah, it probably hit that like a steel plate.
Yep, it hit it, flattened out, and went into Ronald Reagan. So yeah, this has been known to happen, and people said that when I first got it because I had AR 500 plates. I don't know what Charlie Kirk had, if he had one. Again, I'm not following it, so I'm not doubting anything anyone says. I'm just not following.
Okay. New York Outcast is saying he's definitely wearing a plate. You can check out the video.
Okay.
But the thing is, this guy was not poor, and plates can be ceramic, they can be plastic, they can be metal, they can be other things. Somebody who isn't poor is going to be wearing a comfortable plate that doesn't sprawl, and that's why I don't wear metal because of sprawling, but I don't wear metal also because they weigh twice as much and they're uncomfortable.
They don't breathe.
Yeah. So the other things, like ceramic is the only thing I've ever dealt with, but there's plastics and other things nowadays. So I'm just saying, like, I'm not saying he wouldn't wear armor. I'm just saying I doubt that he was wearing a piece of metal. And that's the only thing that really sprawls as far as I know. Maybe there's something else out there now. But the feature of ceramic, for example, is that it's basically a piece of ceramic. It's a piece of pottery with a bunch of Kevlar woven into it. So it's like they took Kevlar and they pour ceramic on it. So when the bullets hit it, it just eats those bullets and the energy. It just takes all that energy. It's kind of neat. So you can shoot a plate like a dozen times or something sometimes. Not in a hole, like not in the same spot, but like you can shoot a dozen rounds into a plate and it's still going to catch some of those rounds. Eventually, though, you keep shooting and it's like shooting into rope or something. Like essentially, you're going to just be shooting through strands. So nothing's perfect. Metal is metal. So, people think metal's all good, but 223 can pop right through metal. And, small rounds, I don't know what all the small rounds are, but all the smaller varmint rounds will go right through metal. That's what anyway, so nothing's perfect, but the metal will last forever. But I'm sure you got it.
Yeah, I don't know. Look, if
I can
people are
say
going to discuss
that
this for a really long time.
for sure.
People are going to discuss this for a really long time, but it really annoys me anytime there's a shooting that people want to attribute it to immediately to a professional sniper because it was so. What regular person can hit something from 200 yards away? You're kidding me, right? That's two football fields. Let's sit your ass down. Um, and then they just won't shut up about it. So I had actually one of the people that go to the diversity shoots. She was like, "What do you think, Tony?" I'm like, "I can teach anybody how to shoot from a prone position, 200 yards away to hit a man-sized target on their lunch hour." I'm like, if that's the only skill, only thing I have to teach you, yeah, I can teach you how to do that. And now that we're seeing it was less than 200 yards, it was more like 140 yards. I'm like, even easier. I don't even have to tell you about wind drift or bullet drop unless you're shooting into a hurricane. So, but people were so ready to say this had to be a professional sniper from that distance. And I'm like, how are you online giving all this information when you know so little? It's almost, what do you call it? Dunning Kruger effect. You think you know, you don't know what you don't know, but that doesn't stop you from speaking loudly on the subject.
Yeah, being super confident on it. Well, that's the thing. You can't when you don't know a bunch of shit. You think, yeah, I know everything. Like I'm done. Like I've figured it all out.
Hmm.
And here, let me speak authoritatively on about it or whatever. Um, yeah, it's frustrating because if all they would have to have done, anyone, any person would have ever have to have done was either go to a even a skeet shoot and but any kind of a marksmanship type of an event, and that would be the kind of thing that like a kid would do growing up, right? So like now a
Hmm.
sibling is going to be dragged along, like I don't want to have to go watch my sister shoot again, it's boring, like you're going to support your sister, right? Like that kind of thing. Then people would know, like if somebody were to say they threw that bowling ball, 7 bowling ball, or what do they call a bowling ball field or whatever they call it, bowling lane or whatever. Like they threw it
Lanes. Yeah.
the length of 7 bowling lanes. Most people would go, "Fuck you! You can't even throw a bowling ball that far." Like even the strongest person in the world couldn't roll a bowling ball that far. Like because they would been to a bowling alley before and they know how hard it is to throw a bowling ball as far as you do. So 7 times that, ridiculous, right? Or if somebody said, I rolled a bowling ball 7 distances uphill. You'd be like, screw off. Like, there's no way. The lightest bowling ball on the planet, you couldn't do that because everyone's been to a bowling alley. So that's the thing. If people have at least experienced it before, these whatever you call them exaggerations, I'll be nice. Um, just wouldn't land. Like everybody would go, what kind of reporting is this that you're going to suggest 200 yards is a massively difficult shot? Like my little brother did that all the time. Like my sister does that at college daily.
Hmm.
You know,
Exactly. I'm like, okay, buddy. Um, it's just annoying, and that's also why I stepped back from social media after this happened because everything was annoying. From the experts talking about how difficult a shot it was, and it had to be, this, it had to be that, to the hate-filled comments again on both sides. Oh, if you said this about George Floyd, what, what? Oh, this, that, and I'm like, okay, dude, let's just go ahead and say people were again. I like your analogy. Everyone's, or at least Wood's analogy. He says everybody's yelling. The other side is horrible, and they're both right. People on the other side are saying horrible things. Yes, you're both right. People are saying horrible things on both sides.
well, they
No,
probably
but
like
the other side. Yeah, go ahead,
person
bro.
A and B, right? Like pointing at each other. The other side is horrible.
Hmm.
Person A on their
Yeah.
side isn't looking at what horrible shit's being said on A. And if they hear about something horrible
Hmm.
being said on A, they go, well, I'm disassociating myself with that. That's not me. Nobody I know is like that. I mean, I
Yep.
do it all the time when they go, all gun owners are racist. I'm like, no, they ain't. I'm sure some racist owns guns, but that doesn't mean the opposite. So whatever, I
Yeah.
dismiss that.
Everybody's not me.
But if you've
Everybody's
never
not
owned a
me.
gun
I'm
before and you've
totally
only
racist.
only met racists or something, and every racist you know has had a gun, and you never met any other gun owners, like then that message might go further with that person, right? Like, or in that group of people even. So yeah, like we just don't have that. I don't know what to call it. Like, we're not Borg, you know what I mean? Like, I don't want to lay this on us either. I'm not going to be one of these people that's like, here's the way it is, and we're not perfect, or we should be perfect. Like, no, what the fuck? Maybe we should just figure out, like, there's things that are going to be riffs, and it's hard to get people to acknowledge that, like, you're allowed to, like, guess what? Before yesterday, we all lived with these riffs, like these differences in our opinions on the way, perspective of the way the world is. But until somebody brought a light to it, and we all started yelling about it, nobody gave a shit. Like, you know, we all just owned these opinions of whatever quietly. And I don't know, maybe that's not best. Maybe some people would say you gotta poke at this shit in order to figure it out or something. But I don't think it's denial to just not be poking shit, you know, to just not be bringing shit up or scratching a itch or scratching a scab that's trying to heal.
True.
Like dropping out?
No, I heard you. Yeah, I agree with you.
Yeah, it sounds like if what everybody's just, like I say, I haven't looked into any of the details at all, so I'm learning a bunch on this show. But if that's the case, then it sounds like, yeah, even a broke clock is right twice a day type of shit, which sucks. Dang, there was a couple of other things that we talked about that we went on different tangents, and I didn't want to completely yank it, but I can't. I'm not thinking of it right now. You have anything that I've overtalked or went in a different tangent that you wanted to bring up?
Yeah, actually, I saw something pretty cool. This is actually going back to guns and gun questions. Saw something really cool at Union Hill Gun Club. So all you geeks that love Colt revolvers, ran into an old Colt revolver. How's this? 38 Banker Special. Or yeah, I think that's how to say it. It's not a 38 Special. It's 38. It's chambered in 38 Smith and Wesson, but it's a precursor to the Colt Detective, or at least it came out at the same time as the Colt Detective. Revolver, 5 shots, 38 Smith and Wesson, and very rare among collectors. And they had one over at Union Hill Gun Club, so I got to tactically fondle it, and I'll be putting out a video with it, and I'll probably do a voiceover on it. Pretty freaking cool little single action trigger pull is amazing. Double action trigger pull makes you rethink life. It's fucking horrific.
But it
I'm
looks
not
like
saying it's a 20-pound trigger pull.
it's like a J frame with a big full size grip. It's like a J frame with a.
They did have a full size square. Yeah, these were actually used by railway guards, railway personnel back in the day between, I think it was like 1934 and 1944. They bought them and then they took them all back and destroyed them in the 70s. So that's what leads to just very few of them. And the people that quote unquote lost their guns while they were in service, they were told if it ever showed up again with those markings on it, they'd be arrested for theft or whatever bullshit threat the government gives to you, like they're going to hunt people down because they lost a pistol and resold it 20 years later. But anyway, there's so few of them with actual markings on them from this organization. I forgot what it's called. You can really Google it and look it up. But really cool gun because it was so rare. I was just checking it out. And again, it's in 38 Smith & Wesson, not 38 Special. And these dudes used it to guard trains.
I've seen some 22s that are like this full size grip, short top, and I honestly don't know what those are for. Like not little ones like for driving around on a bicycle, which also exists, but these were just more like, I think maybe they're for like indoor shooting or something. So I didn't like them. This one in 38, essentially, oh man, I don't like it, but at the same time, I kind of like it. I get it. Like for the job, I get it, especially during the time. because this would have been kind of high
Yeah.
tech at the time. I bet you these things would have been considered sort of like the quick draw, like, need to get it into action
Well,
quick. You don't need to shoot down down the whole train. You're shooting across the train tracks type of thing.
and I don't think it was. I don't think it was uniform. I don't think it was like a uniform guard full size. I think it might have been like civilian clothes on the DL kind of. You have something on you because remember the trains were being robbed back in the day. They
Yeah.
actually deployed the Marine Corps to guard trains. So there was a crime issue, and these actually stayed in service until the
Well,
70s.
and hobos would hang out on trains. So imagine you'd every once in a while wake up somebody who, it's not like hobos are like, hey, I got nothing else to do. I'm going to be a hobo. It was more like I got out of World War I or II, and this is my life now because I can't deal with the regular life, right? I'm guessing that's what a lot of the hobos were. So I'm guessing you don't want to just go waking up hobos. Like that wasn't a fun occupation on
I
Saturday
was
morning.
actually watching it. Oh wow, cool. I was actually watching a video about hobos, and I think it was on Taste of History. He was making a hobo stew or something like that. He makes food from different eras in history and actually talks about them and breaks it
I've seen
down. And he
that
was
too.
talking
I
about
haven't
how
watched
like
it in a
hobo,
while.
he does a really good job, and you can see if you haven't watched it in a while, he's improved some of it. He's improved the production, improved everything he did. And I find it interesting. He was talking about hobo was actually a lifestyle, a thing that people did, and it wasn't really shameful. It
That's true.
was
They weren't
working
criminals.
dudes. Yeah, they were working guys that traveled from camp to camp, and they followed the work. Um, Now it became, being a bum, being a hobo, being the whole thing became this negative thing eventually. But this was how people traveled from point to point and worked.
So I just looked it up, and it says, yeah, whenever they started to carry 9 millimeters is when they really started being looked down on by rest of society.
Oh, what
Folks,
hobos?
yeah,
Yeah,
because up until then, hobos were kind of respectable 38s. That's what
that's
happens.
funny.
Backtrack ruins everything. Yeah, it says, unlike tramps who avoided work or bums who didn't travel. So a tramp is a traveling bum, and a bum is just somebody who sits around not traveling. But a hobo was basically out working. And you see that in some of the TV shows, right? Like a guy will jump off a train and it'd be like, hey, is there any work? So
Hmm.
who do I talk to about that field over there? Because that's the thing is there's people don't think about it, but before all the machines and stuff, and even before the machines were affordable, I guess, it would ever be whatever it is, whatever your crop was, watermelons or uh, snap peas or sorghum or tobacco or whatever. Like there's that time when it's ripe or whatever. I don't know how all the crops work, but right, like when you're going to have to pick it, and yeah, you need as many people, as many hands on deck as possible. Like in, I don't know, again, like all the different crops, but I'm sure some of them you only get like a small window there. Probably the more expensive shit, you probably get a small
Yep.
window, and some of it you can be more sloppy with. But anyway, so I imagine, yeah, hoboing was probably a kind of a different thing back in those, or it was like a more of a necessary thing back in the day. But again, I don't think um, getting back to why you'd had a revolver. I'm assuming you'd find some tramps who were the migrating bums, and then you'd find the occasional
Hmm.
hobo who just didn't like being woke up that early. And that's where I started this whole thing. Is that, yeah, I can imagine jumping around on trains and stuff. You'd want to not be unarmed. Plus, what about a bear or something? Like
So,
some bear decides to sleep in a
well,
or eat honey out of a
you got
car that was left open.
you got this light nice. You got this lightweight, because I tactically fondled it. I picked it up. I dry fired it once because it has the hammer on. It has the firing pin on the hammer, so I didn't do that a lot.
It's old, yeah.
But yeah, I don't want to break it, especially I think they had it priced at like 15, 1,200. Yeah, these things go. I mean, they can go up to $2,400 for these things now because they're rare.
Well, like you
And
say,
I was
I
like, yeah.
totally forgot about that, but people don't know. It's probably what the show's all about. Back in the old days, they didn't think about it, so they just put the firing pin on the hammer because why not? Somewhere along the line, I think Ruger, maybe somebody else, came up with the idea of putting the transfer bar in there so that now the hammer just smacks on the transfer bar and that does the job of smashing the firing pin. And well, what I look at it as, it meant you could now carry a full cylinder without having to worry about it because you didn't have to worry about having a hammer back on a live round. So, but anyway, for a long, long time, hammers had firing pins on them. And if that's the case, with any kind of gun you're playing with, especially a revolver, um, well, I guess it's mostly going to be revolvers, right? Now I'm trying to think if there's a
Hmm.
semi-auto configuration, but whatever. If you're fiddling with an old revolver, especially if you're, well, one, if it's at a store and you're going to have to pay for it, but if it's a friend of yours and you don't want to break their thing, you definitely don't dry fire. Like, I mean, I never dry fired nothing ever. That's because I grew up in the age of everything was delicate, and if you dry fired it, you basically broke it. So, or you could easily break it. So that's a great point. I don't know if people, if that's a thing that's enough. What is it? If there's enough of that, if enough guns have this circumstance that it even needs to be brought up anymore. That's one of those. That's the kind of
Oh,
thing.
what, the hammer?
Yeah, it would be kind of pointless to bring this up in a 2025 training curriculum. Like, hey, you want to know about
Mm.
hammers, revolvers with hammers with firing pins on them? Like, that's such a nuance or niche or whatever that I don't think I'd ever bother bringing it up unless a person like a student asked a question about it. Of course, you'd address it. It's not like it's hidden knowledge. It's just that it's so narrow of knowledge that very few people are ever going to have to deal with that I think I'd probably leave it out of any kind of like gun course that I was
Yeah.
coming up with in
Oh,
2025.
definitely. It's like giving someone information on, I don't know, how to maintain a stagecoach.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
like, yeah,
It shouldn't.
great, great.
The knowledge shouldn't die, but it's not mandatory knowledge either.
Um, yeah, so that I thought that was pretty cool even before the shoot got started because you and I both spent way too many hours in gun stores, and it's the cool stuff with a story like that. It's like, oh man, this is pretty awesome. Look at this thing. How many stories can this gun tell? And pretty much it. We looked at it, and then I called my boy Rosie over, and he's been in the firearms 2 decades before me, maybe a decade before me. But anyway, he was checking it out, and as I'm looking inside, because I thought it was in 38 special, I thought it was a 38 special, and as we were looking at it, I saw the ring around it inside the cylinder. I'm looking and I see the ring, and I'm like, wait a minute. That looks like when you fire 38s and a 357 and it creates that ring inside the chamber. You know what I mean? That ring where the end of the round is, and it creates that hardened,
Carbon.
uh, yeah, carbon. And I'm like, hey, we need to look at this. So we asked the owner of the shop, you got 38s? Yeah. I'm like, leave the cylinder open, drop 38, and I guarantee you it's not going to go all the way through. And of course it didn't. It hit and stopped. But there was a significant amount of 38 hanging out of it. You know what I mean? Like the rest of the cartridge. And I didn't put it together. I was like, they shot short 38s in there. They shot either, because I think it's 38 Smith and Wesson, 38 Colt. I don't know what 38 long is, if it's all the same thing. But I know Smith and Wesson and Colt both just called it 38 Smith and Wesson, 38 Colt. Anyway,
Well,
it's a
that's
shorter round.
there was a whole bunch of 38s. Like I only learned about this when I
Hmm.
started collecting ammo and then got a collection so that I was like, oh, look, another 38. I'm like, wait a minute, why do I have all these 38s? I'm like, oh shit, these are all different. So I think that's
Yep.
the reason 38 special is so special. Like everybody was sick of all the other 38s and was happy to have a whatever I call like a standard 38.
A38. Well, because I mean, it was marketing too. Smith and Wesson didn't want to have Colt's name on the side of their pistol, so they're going to call it 38 Colt. And Colt felt the same way about having 38 Smith and Wesson being printed on the side of their revolver. And if people go, no, it wasn't. I was like, yeah. Why do you think the cartridge is known as 3030 and not 30 Winchester centerfire? Because that's what it is. The official name of 3030 is 30. Was it 30 Winchester Centerfire WCF?
You know, a bunch of them are Winchester.
But no one.
22 Magnum is the same thing. Winchester Centerfire.
Mm-hmm. But people didn't want to put that on the side of their competition's name on the side of their firearm.
We want to use your
Nerds,
cartridge, but not your name. Thanks.
Mm-hmm. Nerds. Well, you think it's called 9mm Luger or 9mm Parabellum?
Oh shit! I might have gun stuff that I can even show us on the screen, because I actually did a gun thing this week. I haven't done gun shit in forever, but I went to Goals.
Yeah.
And there's gun stuff that happens at Goals, turns out. And I'm walking around, and somebody was showing somebody something in front of me, right? Like, I didn't ask for this. I walked up and was basically just barging in, right? But I'm looking for whatever you want to say, like B-roll. I'm looking for footage of the gun stuff, because I don't pursue the gun stuff anymore. So this gun thing was happening in front of me. Basically, a guy was racking an AR, and I was like, oh, okay, I need footage for this, and nobody's going to care. So I just started filming, and then the little demo. Basically, a guy was just demoing their piece of equipment and for other people, and I didn't get anybody in the footage. I zoom in, so I didn't have to ask anybody if it was okay if I got them in the camera, because I didn't get anybody in the camera. I got the guy's hands who owns the piece of equipment. He doesn't care. But anyway, I got my little bad video or whatever. Like, it wasn't staged or planned or nothing. It was just me walking up on them mid conversation, and I got a little piece of the end of it on video. So that was my introduction. I walked up and was like, hey, do you mind if I take video of this, put it on the internet? And they go, what for? I go, YouTube. That was about the whole conversation, honestly. And they go, oh, okay, do you want one? And I felt bad, and I took one, because I felt like I'd have been a dick if I would have said, no, I don't want your product, because whatever. So anyway, so it turns out to be a side charging handle for an AR. And I mean, I technically probably do own an AR, but I don't think it works right now. So it's been a while since I even looked at it. So I took it over to my friend's house.
Double Dog Concepts? The Double Dog Concepts HCR2? Yeah, I have one sitting in front of me. Gave you one too.
I don't know which model. So good. So, I finally took it out and put it on a gun and fiddled with it. And it's hard to get Scott to like anything. He thought it was kind of neat. So I'm going to try to, as I'm talking here, I'm looking. I think I just pulled all these pictures off my phone, though. And these are off my new phone. Wait, did I pull them off my phone? Yeah, I did. Wait. Yeah. So did this pop up? Oh, no, it's on the screen. The HCT2, is that the one you got? Okay. So it's basically a side charging handle. It turns it into a FAL, manual of arms. So there's the charging handle down here. It's incorporated into this, I'm going to call it a sleeve or a bracket, I guess, and then a rod. So now you've got this part, which has one point of contact with your rifle, that right there. That's like a, what do you call it? Like a rail interface. I don't know. I can't think of the word. Basically, like putting on a scope ring, though. So you put that clamp on there. That's what I think I was looking for. Put that clamp on there, and that's connected to the sleeve here, to the outside, the channel here made out of aluminum. And this is all one piece as far as I can remember. Then you have this little guy who's, I don't think it's even on a spring. I think this guy is just connected to the rod, and that's by itself. Then there's this part, which is very similar to a charging handle, but it has this little interface. So now when you pull back, it disengages the charging handle, and it operates the charging handle essentially through this rod. And no big deal. It's kind of like having an extended latch on your charging handle. It's a standard aluminum charging handle, by the way, at least on the inside, right? But the thing is, when you close it, this doesn't reciprocate, so it stays closed and doesn't do anything really. This actually side folds, so it folds forward, right? It's pretty clever little design. It locks on with one point of attachment here, and then gives you it changes your manual of arms, because I don't want to say gives you, because that would imply that you could also use this. You're no longer using this charging handle because of the interface. I mean, technically, I think you can pinch it and get it to open, but really it's designed to transfer the manual of arms from the little pinch with your finger or karate chop, depending on how you do it, to more of like the karate chop you would do on a H&K up here on the front of your receiver. And the travel and everything essentially is the same as the travel on the AR Bolt. So very similar to an HK. Anyway, Double Dog, I'm guessing it's a Marine or a group of Marines.
Yep. He's the Marine. Devil Dog Concepts. So I talked to him for a little while.
This is a photograph. No one
nice
on the
enough, dude.
video is holding this. So this is what it looks like when you're pulling back on it instead of pulling back on the charging handle. But you can see the charging handle fell down because of gravity. There's another little dog right there attached to the rifle.
And if you're wondering how to, oh, wow. Hey, you go 3 videos down on this page, you see my video I posted of him. He actually partnered with me. And you can see him actually charge it with his foot by standing on it, just to show you that you can kick it loose that way too, which I think is cool. If you have to mortar it,
so it's going to say every once in a while you do
work.
have to open a bolt on an AR. They just weld themselves shut sometimes. But if it's not a super bad catastrophic one, you basically usually just slam the stock into the ground and let the charging handle kind of fall. But I do like the idea that you're pushing on that charging handle instead of pulling on it. And I was wondering about that, if it would work. So you're saying he was stepping on this essentially like a pogo stick?
Yep. He was able to just put it down on the ground and bam, kick it down. And I'm like, all right, okay.
I'm doing that. In this video, not with this one at least, but it's good to know that it's that strong. The way that it interfaces, this picture is too zoomed in, but you can tell, it interfaces like I showed you in this kind of in the middle, I guess, of this channel thing. And it's more than just a channel, as you can see. It's a machined piece of aluminum. So, but it has this little, I don't know what to call it, like a toe or something. Like this is a pivot, and it's, at least when it shows up, it's loose. And I think that's just so that it's universal to all the different types of uppers, since there's no dimensionality similarity between uppers. In other words, uppers can do whatever they want as far as shapes, outside shapes for sure. I'm assuming that that's what this kind of design is. And it turns out to be pretty neat, because then it stops. Like if you think about it, if this didn't have this little toe or whatever this is called here, a strap or a sling or something could get in here and fiddle with it and just get annoying. So it serves the point of giving it a point of attachment for the rigidity factor, but also, like I say, kind of stops the thing from being, I don't know, we'll call it a trip hazard, but a trip hazard. A sling hazard or whatever. And, this is the charging handle. Now this is underneath a knockdown, some kind of sight, obviously, but this is the sight that's knocked down, and it rests underneath there. But like I was saying, it replaces the charging handle. This is the whole interface thingy here, but you could go in here and kind of pinch it and disengage it and run it like a normal charging handle. It's just way more tricky. It's not designed to do that. This really isn't that good of a picture. But that's only pictures I have. I think I tried to do a quick video, but it's unedited, and I don't know if there's anything in it. I'm not going to run that yet. But yeah, it's neat. I actually had a gun thing. I don't have gun things very often. I remembered it because Huck was thinking about BCM 7-inch 300 blackout. Are you in the 300 blackout club?
No, I'm not in the 300 blackout club, not because I dislike it. Actually, I changed my mind on it because I was one of those guys that were like, if you don't have a suppressor, why the heck do you have 300 blackout? And then I changed my mind for a couple of reasons. But because I do diversity shoots, I don't want to take any chance of 300 blackout ammo getting anywhere near my 5.56 guns and causing an incident on the range. So that's why I don't do that. But
So
I
the
think
same
300
thing,
blackout is a really good idea.
You're not going to use any other 5.56 other calibers either, then I'm guessing.
Yeah, it's just going to be 5.56 out there. We can use 5.56 with guns and we're good. We can use 308. We can use 7.62 by 39. I just don't want that problem that can happen with crossover. Again, the guys are volunteers and they use my ammo, and all it takes is one mistake, and somebody's firearm is destroyed. We have an incident at a range, somebody may get hurt, and it just makes what I've put over 10 years worth of work, it puts that at risk, in
I
my
don't know
opinion, and in
about
some people's actions.
I don't know a lot about AR-15s, but from listening to
Mhm.
politicians, the bullet from it coming out of an AR-15 can not only kill a deer but also cook the deer. So if you accidentally put a M16 round into a 300 blackout, I can only imagine the catastrophe that would happen.
Oh, oh, definitely, dude. I mean, it could probably take someone's limbs off. Actually, that's what killed Jaws at the end. They tricked the shark into firing a 300 blackout round in the AR.
Yep.
That's what killed it at the end.
They assured him it was okay.
It'll
So
work.
I
It
think
just won't chamber.
we got a good question from Woods. I think I've got I already had it highlighted. I think I got the perfect answer, but I'll let you answer first because I got mine queued up on the pictures over here. So if you have saw that question or not, he just bought a '96 Ranger. I'm assuming he means Ford Ranger. What should be the truck gun? He's saying Smith and Wesson Model 10 question mark. So Ford Ranger from '96 is a small truck, like a Toyota sized truck, but made by Ford. Solid choice.
Yeah, my brother had a 93. Um, what should be the truck gun in a 96 Ford Ranger? I'm going to go totally different and go lever action.
Mm-hmm.
I'll go lever action, and we can either do, I mean, it makes no difference which lever action, but in like 30-30.
Now, when I owned a Ranger, my truck gun was a lever action, but I only owned a lever action 22, so mine was a lever action 22. But luckily, somehow I didn't get in any gunfights, so I didn't have to worry about that.
Yeah.
Mainly just had it
Got
because
lucky.
it was a gun I could carry around that I didn't feel like it must be like all that much of a loss if I lost it. But I didn't carry it like in the, what do you call it, like on the back window. You know, I had it all where my window was there. But
Well, that's
it's
one of the reasons I said
a
it.
solid place.
Yeah, that's one of the reasons I said it, because you can fit it behind the seat, even in one of those flat safes that a couple of organizations carry. You can actually mount it and have it flat up against the back of the seat. If you have something like a king cab or even a single cab, you can still have it mounted and get to it and rack it, and it's ready to go.
And the kind of solid individual that would own a Ranger is going to be the kind of dependable person that is like, oh, my horse got what happens to a horse is like the leg got fouled or whatever happens to a horse leg. Like, I got to put it down. And then that person in the Ford Ranger is the person everybody's going to look to take care of that. Or like, hey, look, that elk is being ravaged by some pervert up on the hill. Like, we need to save that elk or something. So again, person in the Ford Ranger, the one they're going to look to solve that kind of problem. So I can see a lever action being a good choice. Let's see. New York Outcast is saying I'm not a Ford fan, but I can't deny the abuse I put a Ranger through in the past, and it kept going. Oh, I thought he was going to give us a gun. DJ's getting some rain out there in the plains of Nebraska. Is that what I'm allowed to say that? Oh, I guess it's a little bit different question, so I'll leave that one. I don't think we're getting any other specific questions, but now that you brought it up earlier, that Banker Special Colt could potentially be a good small truck gun, because you're sitting there. I'm not going to say a Penix carry, but however you're carrying that thing, you're going to be sitting in the vehicle. So however you're carrying that thing, it's going to lend itself to being drawn. You don't have to like shoulder holster.
Yeah, and if you really want to be a pain in the butt, get a stick shift like my brother's 93 was. At least you don't have to worry about being carjacked far.
Mine was a stick shift too, by the way. And man, that was so fun. I had a little 4-cylinder. It wasn't like it was fast, but it was just fun to drive.
Nope.
And
Yep.
when I've got it out here, I was able to drive it out in Arizona a little bit. What's neat about it is it little two-wheel drive only has to push around a little tiny Ford Ranger and your junk, your gear. So it's not that heavy. And so it's like kind of like a big quad these days. And then, but with a real engine in it, so it like could handle it. But the little two-wheel drive suspension was super strong. Like I was always impressed by what that little thing could do. Yeah, really, really liked it. I had a calf on it, so we could camp right in it. But anyway, my suggestion, because this is a 96? In 96, you could have still, oh wait, no, I can click this button. You could have still got yourself a P96 or P95 from Ruger from the year before. And
Nice.
just to have the right era, because this definitely would have been, I didn't have my Ruger when I had this. I don't think they lined up, but I would have felt like a big shot carrying this thing around in my Ranger for sure. So it's a Ruger Ranger, right? Kind of all fits together with the R thing going on. But the unfortunate part is a lot of these were chambered in stupid metric calibers, but you could get them in 45s, I think, too, right? And eventually in 40s. I don't know if they made them in 40s right away. I don't think 40 was even a thing yet when they first came out.
What year?
About that. 95? Like I said, I'd have to sit here and think.
Yeah,
about
and 40 was around.
Okay. But was it popular enough
40 was
for
around that.
chamber in it? Because we've talked about this plenty of times. Like it had its little ups and downs, and when it first hit the scene, it had a little up, but it's not like it lasted long. And then it had some other ups. But Ruger definitely was a caliber, was a gun chambered in it, so they must have liked it. I just don't know if the first. I think they all started out 9, unfortunately, if I remember it. Because that's, I think, what this gun was like Ruger's answer to. Not say answer to a polymer frame, but like reaction to the polymer frames, because they were basically still aluminum, which was a whole different thing. The whole pre-plastic, we hated aluminum first, or at least the haters hated aluminum first.
Yeah, I'm laughing because you did the Ruger 92, and I'm like, all right, then let's play that game. We can do the Rossi 92 also.
Oh, okay. No, that's a good point. And that would actually in 357.
Yep.
That would be a good. We'll get the 357 in there. That would be a great, perfect truck gun actually for that one. It's the right size and everything.
Yeah, actually, was impressed
there
by
wouldn't have
how
been
much.
a safety on it. Like now, there's a safety on them. I think back then they didn't have a safety.
Mhm. I was impressed by how much gun you get for the money. Because this little 16-inch monster, again, the 357 Magnum, the first one I ever saw, the first Rossi I ever tactically found with a shot at the range was actually a 44. And, the thing is like 32 inches long, but it has pretty much, I can drop anything on the North American continent with this lever action kind of thing. Was really impressive. Yeah, overall length 33 inches. It's not even 3 feet long.
You talk about balance or whatever, like a lot of lever actions are balanced well, but I think that's a good, it just felt right. Like not so much the balance as much as like when you're walking with it, like some guns you walk with and it's like, oh, I'm going to knock it into the dirt or something, or I'm going to snag it on every tree. Like they're just made to I was always hunting rabbits with them. So, they're just made to get through brush and bushes and junk with minimal snagging. Like I dug that. I can totally see why people would want those back in the day.
Yeah, and then you load this up with 158 grain 357 from something like, Double Tap or who are the companies? Double Tap or Buffalo Bore, or I forget. I think there's a third one I can't remember off the top of my head that makes, potent ass rounds. They're more boutique. Double Tap, Buffalo Bore, Double Tap, Buffalo Bore are the two I can think of off the top.
I'll think of it as soon as somebody says it, because I'm picturing it. But it's been so many years since I've hung around at gun shops and gun shows to, I'm seeing the. I know what you're talking about. You're not talking about Glazer.
No, the Glacier safety slug. No.
You know, I mean, but that kind of
Hey,
thing,
we
like
got
a one-off safety or a specialty round for a specific circumstance.
we got John Crump. John Crump, my passenger from Gay Street. He's in the chat.
Joining us.
Okay. I just got a message from my guys from the other podcast. We're going to kick off at 6 doing the other show. So,
How much time you got?
just so we got another 45 minutes,
Okay, well, we'll wrap it up here.
40
you
to
don't
45 minutes.
have to back, which is give you a good break because we've done like 4-hour shows here for a number of weeks now. Scott was saying while we're on the subject, what would be a good, or would you think a lever action or a pump action shotgun in 410 for RV defense? So never lever for shotguns. The throw is way
Yeah.
too long, and they're
Yep.
just not real. Like they always edit movies. If you'll notice, like they make movies make it seem like lever action shotguns work quickly. They don't. So never lever on a shotgun. I'm pretty much never shotgun, but yeah, pump action 410. Yeah, definitely the way to go. Especially,
I don't find anything wrong with.
go ahead.
Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, especially
No, I find nothing wrong with a pump.
firearms. You know, the ones that are not pistols, they're not rifles without a stock, they're a firearm. When you get into
Mhm.
410 firearm for an RV, I'd have to put that, but I still would go AR. But okay, go ahead.
Yeah, I agree with you on that one. If you have one of those bird's head firearms, 410 is a great choice for that. If you're going to go with a whole shotgun, I'd rather go with 20 gauge over 410. Shot pattern, affordability of ammo, options in ammo are way more with the 20 gauge. I'm assuming you're going with a smaller round because maybe you have smaller people that are going to use the gun and you don't want the kick of a 12 gauge. I think 20 is a great uh, compromise between 12 gauge and 410. I'm not even going to talk about 16 gauge or anything like that. But yeah, between 410, 20, and 12, I think that 20 gauge is a really good spot for availability of defensive ammo, availability of any ammo. I think it will work great with a 20.
I mean, when you're talking 410, you're saying, give me a caliber, or what is it, a gauge, I guess, that's very difficult to buy ammo for, unless you live somewhere where there are dubs or something and they happen to have it. And then you're going to get dub shot. So I shouldn't say that. I forget that Taurus exists and the Judges. They did create a bunch of pretty impressive defensive stuff. I don't know if it's good, but it's certainly impressive defensive stuff in 410. So I'll shut up. There is defensive stuff. But it's going to cost you an arm and a leg.
Well,
I agree with you on the
exactly.
20. I was getting it.
20 is a great spot.
If you're talking a lever 410, that's even, remember, they're even longer. They're like as long as a rifle round. So they're even longer than a standard
like 2.5 inches.
20 or 12, which are, can get short. And then when you can get those little rounds, I don't know if the little rounds work in lever guns or not. They work in some pumps, I guess, so they might, but I'm not necessarily recommending them for defense either. But I'm just thinking, you're already fighting a lot with shotgun rounds, putting them into anything besides a pump or a double barrel because their size, either they're too big around or they're too long. And with 410, like it's just the extreme of too long. So definitely not a 410 in a lever gun ever. But I think
a Winchester range.
I don't think you have.
Go ahead.
Think about. I have to defend. Sure, like your house or your in this case an RV in the place. Yes, that's probably, I don't disagree, like probably most of the time. But you don't always get to choose, like this is going to be a standard situation, like this is going to be like most of the others. Like there's the extremes for a reason because the outliers exist, and I always want to prepare for the outliers and then hopefully not have to deal with it. But that's why I figure if you got to go outside, shotgun becomes useless really fast, and an AR becomes useful really fast. And inside, I still don't like the idea of a lot of projectiles. If you are going to be shooting, then one round inside deliberately from a rifle is going to be very easy shot compared to maybe a messy shot. I'm not going to say difficult or anything, but messy shot with a shotgun. And I'll agree, that's probably most of the times you might need it. But as soon as it goes outside, that's where I'm in the AR camp. I'm in the minority, I know that, but I'm going to go down with that one. I think that you bring equipment for the worst
The
case.
reason I leave ARs alone for some, because he said RV. I
For sure.
leave ARs alone for RV because you travel. Exactly. So I'd go with pump action or lever action for those because more than likely it's 50 state legal for most shotguns and levers. And also, especially if you keep it traditional wood, look, I love the Ranger Point precision things. I love the tacked out shotguns. But if you're going to be traveling to people, areas where you have a jury of your peers, and we know what kind of dumbasses those could be when it comes to firearms and how biased they can be. I'd keep it as traditional looking as possible. Of course, put a sling under the flashlight and a side saddle so you have extra ammo. Like you said, in case it does go outside, I can just do a round swap and have a slug and be able to shoot it. And there's nothing wrong with having a red dot on your shotgun to make it more viable, but keep the furniture wood and try to keep it looking as normal, as fuddy as possible, because you're going across those state lines and you may have to have something happen. Or listen, it might be one of those duty to inform states and you got to tell the freaking cop about it. And if he sees your tacked out shotgun, who knows what kind of biases this guy would have, because cops aren't automatically gun people. And some of them don't even believe civilians should be armed. Meanwhile, they'd never stopped a violent crime in their life while it was happening, but they still don't think civilians should have a firearm. So you have to keep that in mind. You can argue your rights all you want, but it's not going to help you when your freaking RV is being towed and you're cuffed up because Deputy Dog don't understand the law. Now you got to get your thing out of the tow yard. You got to get bailed out, all because you chose to have, a totally tacked out AR-15 with, everything and all the bells and whistles on it. And you trip this guy's trigger and he thinks somehow you're Taliban or the Punisher or something.
Well, no, but you make a good point. And if I'm saying be prepared for extremes, that's the kind of extreme you also want to be aware of, that although it's not going to be every interaction, like you say, like something they're familiar with is going to be like raise an eyebrow. Something that they're unfamiliar with and concerned about potentially is going to raise a call to more people on the scene or worse, right? So that's a great point. Mm-hmm. And it's tough. It's going to be up to the individual for sure, because there's the potential, sort of like, there's answers to all of that, but I definitely see what you're saying. And it's usually my advice has always been for traveling. See, this was like defense of the RV. So, I was thinking traveling, but I'm thinking, somebody who's on a vacation or something, as opposed to like working on a gig for 6 months. But, that kind of would be where I guess I was thinking a little bit too. Or maybe camping out in the middle of nowhere, not stopped because of a flat tire in a neighborhood where all of a sudden you're in a neighborhood with an assault rifle in an RV. Like, what the hell? They don't think that, I'm just passing through from this state to the other, from one desert to one set of mountains. But, they see it as being in my neighborhood with all this stuff. And you don't get to choose when that flat tire happens. So that's a good point. But I guess, there's no but to that. That's a good point. Oh, I guess I was going to say what I used to say for traveling was always get yourself like a Mosin Nagant or the equivalent, some kind of just surplus bolt gun that's super capable, but most people would dismiss it as like, oh, that's not a gun. Or, that's not a dangerous gun. That's just a wood gun. That's one of those wood guns from like the olden days, because the Mosin Nagants from like World War I. So super strong though. Like, they still work great. Ammo's nothing. You wrap that in a couple of targets and throw in the back. Like, literally, you could just have a gun by itself wrapped in targets, and most people, most cops, most everybody's going to dismiss that as like outdoor gear. You know what I mean? Because it's such a non-threatening gun. But then a Mosin Nagant, like, they got little clips. I think I never used them because you can load them so quick. But yeah, just like the old-fashioned bandolier of literally just gun, bullets on your belt or whatever is like I'll go up against anybody. Like I've seen people. I guess I must have taken I don't know if Scott remembers. Did I ever shoot a Mosin at any of the axe matches? I'm sure somebody has. Some of those dudes are all into being extreme. But anyway, I'm saying like a little Mosin, because my Mosins are short. I have little short carbine Mosins. My little Mosin,
Oh, nice.
Jamming 54 Rs in there as fast as I can, like a Pez dispenser. I could keep up with, I'm not going to say I can keep up with like an AR with a 30 round mag, but I can keep up with like any World War II gun. You know what I mean? Like there's a reason those guns lasted a long time. All I'm saying is they're pretty equivalent to a lever action. But the thing is, they're going to be dismissed by so many people, especially if you take the bayonet off. Like so many people are going to go, oh, that gun, I'm surprised it even works. It looks so shitty and old.
Yeah. The old, well, the funny part is the price on Mosins are high enough now that it's not an inexpensive gun, especially when you're talking about the shorter carbines like the M39, M38. Those are going to be $600, $700, $800 guns, if not more. So they're not cheap surplus anymore, and the ammo isn't either. But I liked my Mosins. SKS is another one. If you pull the friggin' bayonet off, I think SKS is another good one because it's self-contained with the stripper clips, and it's an old gun. Leave the iron sights on because I mean I ran a freaking carbine class with my SKS, and I 100% know for the first 10 rounds it could keep up with an AR. And as a citizen, as an armed citizen, I don't know how many. Let's just say any fight that went over 10 rounds as an armed citizen, it became national news. So I like the idea of keeping a gun that's 50 state legal, keeping a gun that's low on the tactical scale, only because if you're confronted by law enforcement in any way, you're going to have to push against police bias when it comes to their opinion on your gun. And it sucks. It's not right. I don't agree with it, but it is reality when it comes to, especially, for a dude like me that's giving people advice in New Jersey about firearms. And I know many law enforcement guys in New Jersey don't know shit from Shinola when it comes to firearms that you're dealing with. You're going to have to dumb it down for them. Like people understand a handgun, but when you get to long arms, oh, why would you need one of those? All right, cool. I'll make it as Uncle Jed Clampett as I can. And all right, cool. I have a shotgun with a 20-inch barrel or an 18-inch barrel that's pump action, that's wood furniture, that has a little side saddle on it with a couple extra shells. I wouldn't go so far as to have a match saver on it, but if you want to do the match saver, that's fine too. You can have that one slug parked up front in case you have to change it out to a slug. But that's it. A sling and a flashlight.
Well, stacking a magazine is goofy because that's trying to anticipate the future and limiting yourself to having to remember and, just be whatever that like nimble to be able to change things or something if you don't need whatever's next in your mag. But having a mag of a ball, for a semi-auto, having a mag of ball, a mag of hollow point, and a mag of tracer ball mix, it's a different assortment of shit for different games or whatever, different situations, then that's totally acceptable. And I don't have any issue with people putting most saddles are going to hold 5. I guess some hold 6 nowadays, but just because of the size of most guns and stuff, I think most of them hold 5. At least the ones I remember hold 5. And a lot of people would put 3 of whatever, their preference was some kind of defense round, probably some, let's say 00 buck, but then they'd have 2 slugs. And I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. A lot of people put the 2 slugs in one way and the shot in the other side, one going in from the left, one going in from the right, so that physically you load them differently. So that, again, when you go from gloves to mittens, when you go from like tunnel, into tunnel vision from all the stress and the adrenaline and shit, it's a little easier to not mistake them. But I don't think there's any problem, especially when you brought up the idea of like going outside with a shotgun. That actually is, I think, wise to be able to have the ability to change up the ability of your tool, since the tool is so diverse. Like the tool can handle both long and short distance stuff. It's just that I guess I go with most people having a bunch of 00 buck in there and being satisfied with it.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I totally get it. But if we're going to talk about my whole thing with when you travel outside, because, I've gone to classes outside the state I live in, but of course I have to have Jersey legal stuff. And it really sucks because, one, I get to the place where I'm at and I have to take classes with these neutered magazines in theory. Luckily, people come through for me and let me borrow, a mag from him, a mag from her, a mag from her. And now I have three magazines that are actual standard capacity. So I'm not screwed when we're running drills to be, 10 rounds, change a mag, 10 rounds, change a mag. Um, but you're traveling out of state, it's like, yo, you got to think about different circumstances that may come about. One good thing is to listen to, because we talk about personal safety and security. Uh, Self defense gun stories, the podcast I used to be on with Rob Morris, is a really good thing to listen to get out of your head and actually hear about real life scenarios that happen and how diverse those scenarios can be. And then load yourself up accordingly because you're going on this trip. It's 3 days, a week, 2 weeks, a month. You have no idea what kind of people you'll run into. And if you camp or stay in those places for a while, you understand that the type of people you meet are diverse. You'll meet somebody that's homeless and just got out of prison, staying at a campsite, to somebody that's overlanding around the world at that same campsite, and they're filthy freaking rich, and every circumstance in between.
Yeah. Dude, you're bringing up points that I'll just say, like, whenever I'm going to try to leave it at whenever I was traveling in 2001 during September. So when all that stuff happened, I was right near DC, and then traveled home shortly after. Maybe I forget, like whatever time it was appropriate to travel afterwards, like a month or something later. There was a time there no one traveled, right? But anyway, that trip was probably the trip that what would be the word, impressed me, or got an impression on me that I should have brought more with me, because I didn't anticipate something going down while I was on a trip. So then I started bringing, let's just say, more long guns whenever I go anywhere, just in case everything fell apart or something, or even, it's everything doesn't have to fall apart. I don't mean to imply like that there's civil wars right around the corner and it's just a couple of sticks holding it up from collapsing, but something like a chemical truck could fall off the highway and create a situation where everybody has, it's temporary, small things can happen that everyone has to be self-sufficient for a minute or something. And if everything gets weird, and this was in 2000, so I don't know what I was thinking, using as examples, because none of the stuff in the last few years even happened. But with all the stuff that's happened in the last few years, I guess I can understand somebody having that same theory or same thought process, that you're going to want to be loaded for bear when you go out, because just in case. But for all the stuff Tony brought up, and then I'll add another thing: when you break down and you have to grab whatever you can and go to the hotel, or if you break down and you have to grab whatever you can and go home while your vehicle gets towed or something, or taken care of out of your sight, out of your presence or whatever for some amount of time, like, what's practical, reasonable, or possible for you to take with you? And if you've got anything else, especially kids, other people, right, rest of your family, critters, there's people who travel with all different kinds of critters. You're going to want to have arms and attention for all of that. And then whatever stuff you brought for just in case becomes very expensive, very critical, like stuff that you also have to pay attention to. So for a while there, I was, let's say, riding heavy. And then after a few breakdowns and going, oh crap, now what do I do? Like, this is a crazy Tetris game. Not really a Tetris game. What do you call that game where you have to, like, one boat has to take 3 boatloads of shit across the lake, like, and you know what I mean, like, you have to figure out how many trips it's going to take you to get places, and oh my goodness, the whatever you want to call it, like, infrastructure that happens once you've got more stuff in play than you can carry. I don't carry heavy like that anymore. So it all adjusts, and you have to have your personal experience and where you're going and what you're anticipating. I guess I'll take a factor of that, but I just wanted to put that out there, that I've personally gone from one, not extreme, but I've gone one way or the other. I've always carried something with me, and then something in the vehicle, right? Something on me, and then something in the vehicle. But that something in the vehicle got larger and smaller based on circumstances in the world and my experiences on the road. So, yeah, exactly. Would
And that's when we come back to, and for me, that's when
Are
we
you
come
are you
back to
really a
things
gun
like,
owner if you haven't called home and given your friends your safe combination and said it's all yours if I don't get home? Like, are you really a gun owner if that hasn't happened in your life?
I'll leave that alone. But when we're talking about that, yeah, I didn't think about that travel. Now you got to pack all your stuff up and get it out, or at least pack some of your stuff up. And actually had that happen with my brother-in-law recently. He's an over-the-road truck driver. And the company he worked for failed to make payment on the vehicle. So he's on the road in the truck at a rest stop, and it gets repoed. And he has to grab his stuff. So he grabs his handgun, some clothes, like an overnight bag, and his dog, and has to go check into a hotel until they figure this out. So if you're traveling, like if you show up and you have, your tactical rifle bag all tacked out and it looks like what it is, or you could have something like that lever action that you can put in something flat. You can put it, or even, I mean, I hate to say it because I don't think they're that dependable, but one of those bullpup shotguns from like KSG, or the bullpup shotgun from, dang, I did a review on it, or did a video on it. I forgot the name of it. DB12, the DB12. That's it. From Standard Manufacturing, I think. But they're bullpup 12 gauge shotguns, so they're a small overall package of probably less than 30 inches. Like boom, throw that in. You can put it in a much smaller bag that looks like something else. The racquetball, the racquetball bag, the something other than something that screams, "This is a firearm in this bag." That's why also something that's not an AR, that's all pokey and hanging out of the sides.
I don't want to keep it going because I said I was going to make it my last thing, but I'll just
Yeah.
rage against the NFA for a second. And we're only saying all this because we're all under the, what do we call it? Like, we all are assuming that we're going to be law abiding and not creating or carrying guns that wouldn't comply with the dumbass NFA for no reason. Well, I shouldn't say that. The NFA exists for no reason. Separate sentence. But yeah, we're all talking about guns that would not put us in jail. But without an NFA, we would have a spectrum of firearms available to us, from the mare's leg, which would be the original thing we're talking about, the lever action, in a short version, which is incredible. I've owned them. They are one of the better guns ever made, and just the coolest, funnest guns ever made too. They're one of the best guns. But a tiny little shotgun, like a Serbu or something, I get a much different opinion with shotguns when they get tiny. And then small ARs. Oh, here's me, small AKs, but for the rest of you, small ARs.
Yeah.
But that's a whole different conversation. I want to get into it because you do. Let's say whatever you're going to say. Then tell us about the next diversity, which is already sold out.
Very cool.
Then go to your other show. You got a whole nother show.
Yep. Got a whole nother show. 100% I agree with you. Not only did the NFA limit, if everything became legal right now, we still have nearly 100 years of civilian firearm limitations that have been put on us, and stuff that hasn't been developed because there was no money in it, like PDWs. And also the fact that the public opinion of this stuff is part of that political agenda to villainize firearms. So yeah, some of the coolest stuff we could have, Ma and Pa Kettle, Mr. and Miss Middle America, would still see that as, oh my God, that's a monster assault weapon. Again, because of the politics around it. If these things are just seen as normal tools, nobody looks at your riding lawnmower and go, man, that's some crazy stuff you got on that thing, when you could just have a walk behind. No, they're like, hey, that's pretty cool. Wow, you got a cooler on there and an air conditioner. Awesome. Same thing with firearms. So we've been limited because of the laws that are arbitrary, but it also slowed down firearms development for us because there's no money in coming up with something short, small, easily carried for somebody in an RV or somebody in a Ford Ranger two-seater with not much room. Like they villainized stuff that would be great for that. Anyway, that's what I wanted to talk about. Now, let's roll into the next diversity shoot. Is completely sold out at We Shoot on the 25th, Thursday the 25th, 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. But that doesn't change the fact that you can actually donate ammo to us. We'd love it. We go through about 1,000 rounds of 9mm in an event. We probably go through, about half of that, about 500 and something rounds in 22 and various other calibers we need help with. And if you can donate, that would be great. If you have a company that makes things like little tchotchkes that'll be awesome giveaway items, hey, send it. Hey, if you got a buttload of friggin' pens that don't really suck, but they're from your business and you want to have us pass it out, dude, I can always use raffle items that are cool. So you can help us out. Contact me, Tony at diversityshoot.com, or you can contact me through Instagram at Simon Says Train. X, it's second for everyone using the numbers. And on Facebook is the second is for everyone or Tony Simon. It'll be a great way to reach me. So thank you very much for listening to me babble on every show. I appreciate you guys. Oh yeah, and also you can check out, what is it called? Dang. Cocked, Locked, and Unfiltered. That's our podcast that I'm actually getting off to talk about now. And I'm also on Firearms Radio Network on the Gun and Gear Review podcast every Tuesday live. So if you love hearing me babble, that's where you can hear me babble. I really appreciate your time.
Yeah, thanks for taking the time to jump in with us. Thanks everybody for joining. There was a bunch of questions that we didn't get to. Feel free to throw those into the website if you want. There was about 6, I think, questions from the website that we haven't addressed because we just babble. Maybe we'll get to them next week. Maybe not. But thanks everybody for joining us here on the X and occasionally on the Rumble when I figure out how to get that connected correctly. We'll see you next time. Oh, wait. Since I screwed up the outro anyway, let's mention there are like 4 people in jail that don't need to be. We post their information on the regular. So let's not be diverted by what they want. I mean, obviously it's an important thing that everyone's talking about this week, and I don't mean to dismiss that. But at the same time, we focus on what we want, and these folks aren't getting out of jail because they're letting them out. They'll be out of jail once we demand it, I suspect. So I wanted to just put a plug out there for those folks that are, and the people themselves, the 4 individuals, but also their families that are dealing with it, and the folks that they represent who are also being stricken by those laws that just don't happen to have the spotlight shown at them right now. That is something, I'm going to take a moment, I guess, to rant. That's something that we have an opportunity to take action on, like to do something about, make our politicians aware of it, make representatives represent us to do the things like that, do our bidding. And that's exactly what representatives are about, figuring out what needs to be done to move those cases along, give them priority or whatever the case may be. And then we got Maj trying to finish the funding for the Solutionary building, the Solutionary Center in Philadelphia. I think there's an opportunity here as a gun community for us to see the completion of a $500,000 project, which don't come along very often. If they ever have come along before, I don't know if there's been a $500,000 fundraising operation in the gun firearms community before, let alone the advocacy like edge of it or side of it. So there might have been things for ranges at that level, maybe factories or something, companies organized at that level. But as far as funding of organizations, I don't know if anything has been at that scale. So by itself, that seems like a good achievement to achieve, right? To put under our belts. We get an opportunity to see that happen and be part of it. So if you've already contributed financially, or if you're not interested or able to participate financially, nobody's asking you to, just be aware of it in conversations when it comes up. Just, being able to enunciate that to other people is a big plus because we've got that happening. But if you are able to or interested in getting the word out about that and seeing that happen sooner than later, it's, as he breaks down, something like $500 donors. So we're not talking about much more than, a big medium-sized blip on the radar to get something like that funded and finish the giant funding. This has been something that's been going on for a while. One, I think it's a neat thing to accomplish just as a community, as grassroots, right? We don't get an opportunity to do anything, period, let alone anything at scale, let alone anything unprecedented, which this is all three. And then when we sit around saying, something should be done. Well, what the fuck? Like, what do you want to do? You want Brownells to do it? Like, you waiting for Brownells to do it? Like, you're waiting for, what's the other big ass entity that sits around with a shit ton of money? CCA, $24 million a month. Where's their, seems like 50 grand ain't nothing, but whatever. We could wait around for somebody with all the money to do something, but I don't think they have any interest or ability to do that. So as a community, we've raised $500,000 minus 50 grand so far for the Solutionary Center, which is an accomplishment. That's a feat, right? So anyway, I think that one, it will like lead the way. Like other people will go, oh shit, if he could raise 50 million for that, or 50 whatever, 500,000 for that, then I can raise 600,000 for this, or I could raise 200,000 for that. And we see the seeding of more grassroots, which is what we know we are and what we need more of. So I see it as a win there. And then you get into the whole level of when they use the numbers, they'll use numbers of inner city crime against atrocities, murderers, and juxtapose the situations so that it seems like most gun owners are about to flip and turn into, singular murderers. And the justification for that is inner city murder. Do they do a fucking finger? Do they lift a finger to do anything about anything? Even no, because they're scared shitless to talk about inner city. That turns into crime and into police who can't do shit about it, who haven't done shit about it, or both. So this is the Solutionary Center being in Philadelphia, one of the cities that has the most atrocious, is that the right word? Like records for violence, especially with handguns, but just violence in general. Like the fact that Maj is doing it there is, again, like by itself, a tremendous feat to accomplish. So anyway, for all these reasons and more, I could go on and on. I'll try to shut up so Tony can go do his thing. But all this happened because my outro didn't glitch right. But anyway, I just wanted to say we have an opportunity here to get those 4 folks out of jail and do that without Gun Owners America ain't doing shit about it. Second Amendment Foundation ain't doing shit about it. NRA can't do shit about it, and they're not doing shit about it. Certainly the place in Colorado that comes around and makes more money than all of those when they feel like it hasn't done shit about it. And USCCA and the other carriers, they don't do shit about it. So we can. Like there's GoFundMe's. How do you think the Solutionary Summit is with a, what is that? Not a GoFundMe. It's a, what's the other one? Gibson Go, I believe. So we can do this,
Go.
Using systems that exist that make sure that it's on the legit and that money isn't getting lost or, redistributed. It's all going where it's supposed to go. And it's kind of open source. Like we're taking care of this. We're just taking care of this business. So anyway, I encourage people that this is a great opportunity. You've got Dragonman's event happening as we speak. I almost got to there. Almost got there, but we didn't get up there. But in an era where there's a lot of people would suggest that this is over and civil war and bullshit, now we're living in a place where we've already raised $50 or $500,000 minus 50 for a center in Philadelphia. I guess I'm assuming a lot too that people know what we're talking about when I say Maj, but that's the Solutionary Center is the Solutionary University, which is like an online course for civics, physical fitness, gun ownership, or gun use and awareness, or like activism. I'm missing stuff, but basically stuff that makes a person stoic and like self-sufficient and understand is it Maj? No, who was it that said? I think it's KD that talked about like when you give a person something to care about, then then they actually put some effort into it. And once you let somebody know that their rights are something that they can care about, they're going to cherish that a little bit more than being so reckless with their rights. So I think there's just so much potential there. I'm definitely ranting here. So I don't know. Do you want to throw anything at the end of all that? And then I'll definitely end it whenever you're done here.
No, I'm good. Hey, see you guys next week. And really, thank you very much for listening to me ramble. Thanks, DJ, for putting my information out there so people can donate or contact.